the chaff grenades are your friend. Pick your section, but it makes it a lot easier. Just use a chaff grenade. But you can't buy them from Drebin. You can only pick them up.
Drebin is so fucking useless.
At the very least, he could have had some chaff grenades ready for me.
It's like, okay, you know I'm on a stealth mission. Here's 17 unsilenced pistols and assault rifle. Here's a fake bazooka that shoots out a flag that says, "I'm gay and I'm here. Raise the alert, please." Hey, do you have those grenades that just they cost like $17 to make and they're incredibly useful for this one level? No. But I have a water balloon. First as tragedy, then as farts. Leonard Maltin, if he were reviewing this game.
Diarrhea.
Someone done killed the author. Roland Barthes. Bartz. Roland Bart. In 2006, former GOP strategist Kevin Phillips compared the modern concept of fandom in popular culture to feudalism. To Phillips, this trend simply reflected a checked-out populace that had abandoned politics as a means to remedy the ills in their lives. Modern celebrities, Phillips argued, had replaced landowning sovereigns and other nobility, while their fans occupied the role of toiling serfs. There are some material holes in Phillips's theory, namely among them the simple fact that fans of Dua Lipa do not pledge their labor to her so that they can hunt on her inherited lands, and the absence of any major wars being fought over the succession of James Gandolfini. Still, it's a compelling idea. In stagnant times, people regress, sometimes to forms of existence that predate modern states. But if the fanatic followers of whatever bankable star or IP or megastar constitute a group of serfs that will happily go to war and die for their lord, what does a peasant revolt look like? And is fear of revolt great enough to hold some great houses to account? What does that look like? Our entry this week may present an answer. Metal Gear Solid 4 wasn't even supposed to be made in the first place. Series creator Hideo Kojima originally planned to end the series at its likely zenith in Snake Eater. But eventually, the fans screamed too loudly, and Konami realized it was probably too soon to turn the IP into pachinko machines. But even then, Kojima wasn't going to helm it. His original plan was to oversee production and writing, but leave the heavy lifting to those who had worked alongside him this entire time, to pass on his knowledge, just as Snake had told Raiden. This makes all the sense in the world, or at least I think it does. Readers of the supplemental materials on the Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance second disc will know that the process of making these games could be so physically taxing on the creator that he would wind up hospitalized several times during the production of that game. He'd also been working with these same characters in the same world for 18 years by the time the initial work on 4 had begun. For someone like Kojima, who's always tried to circumvent conventional knowledge on games at any given point in his career, just pumping out sequel after sequel had to make him feel like he was one of those 130-pound working breed dogs that get stuck in a 400-square-foot New York City morgue slot apartment. But eventually, Kojima's charges cried out to him. They were paralyzed without him, or perhaps more likely, were paralyzed anticipating the fan reaction. What resulted is one of the most tonally bizarre games I have ever played. Metal Gear Solid 4 is shockingly spiteful, more so than any other project in the series. It's also borderline schmaltzy at points, but overall very earnest. Without a doubt, I'd say it's the worst game in the Solid series. But strangely, I'd say it ends up being a pretty good send-off to the character of Solid Snake despite everything. Of course, they would milk Kojima for 3 more after this. But for now, We're back in the late 2000s. The single worst creative period for a large number of storied Japanese game franchises. Brendan, there's been a long lead time in this episode because I've had to travel. Like we've both had stuff in the way, and I feel like the other games that we've played, I've done them all twice. I had to play this game like in its entirety 3 times to figure out what I felt about it.
Yeah, I didn't play it as many times as you did. I only replayed it once this past week or so, but it was a very different experience than the first time I played it. And I actually texted you. I was a little nervous to replay this one because the first time I ever played MGS4, I had a pretty good time. I went in knowing it wouldn't hit the quality of the first 3. I knew that it had its flaws, but I also didn't know much about the plot or the gameplay elements. So I had an open mind. I was pretty patient, and I emerged pleasantly surprised. I did appreciate a lot of the callbacks and the reunion atmosphere and the Metal Gear goodies that the game was stuffed with. And while I definitely clocked moments that didn't work, by the end of the game, on my first playthrough, I did essentially count myself among those people who felt it was a lovable mess.
Mm-hmm.
As it turns out, my anxiety that I texted you was well-founded because this time around I felt a lot less patient and at times deeply frustrated with the game. I did find what its critics tend to say about it. I did find it terribly paced, overindulgent, and sometimes just outright grating. A big part of me wants to go back and re-record our entire MGS2 episode so I can take back all the nitpicking I did there because compared to this shit... So I wouldn't say that I hate the game now, although I did text you that as well at one point. And I started to feel more positive as it came around in the latter half, and I was close to beating it. But it withered under the lights a bit for me on my second playthrough, I will say that.
Well, I think that is sort of a hallmark of games from this era, roughly, 2008 to I would even say 2014. I alluded to like this being a very bad creative period for a lot of Japanese studios and storied franchises. This is a remarked upon phenomenon that after Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and especially 2, and sort of the crisis that a lot of studios faced where not enough people bought the PS3, so many developers just ran out of ideas and took all their cues from Modern Warfare or games that were like Modern Warfare or like Gears of War. There was so much cover shooting in that 6-year period, and every game looked like this. Very drab, but some like military oranges and greens in the UI.
Yep.
And the biggest thing, and I think one of the worst legacies of Modern Warfare, I think worse than all the people who joined the military because of Modern Warfare, because I think all those people died instantly before they could do anything that bad. They were all cannon fodder.
Yeah.
But it's the over-reliance on scripted sequence, which there's so many games from this era where I play them for the first time and I go, I don't get why so many people fucking hate this. And then I play it the second time and I would go, oh yeah, oh that's right. There's like 6 minutes of me playing in this entire thing. There was so much of that.
Whenever we are in the Nomad and everyone is talking about fucking DNA sequences or nano machines at a glacial pace with these long stretches of silence in between the bad dialogue and the hum of that stupid plane, I was in hell. At one point, it was some interminable conversation with Otacon and Naomi, and I shouted at the TV, "Hurry up!" I couldn't contain myself that the game was just like this, oblivious to how much patience and goodwill it was burning away. And just to your point about the era, a brief thought here. I was thinking as I was playing this about another game that came out just 1 year after this, Resident Evil 5. That's kind of one of my favorite.
That is a classic example of this phenomenon.
They're very similar. They both sport that mid-2000s Michael Bay style in their cinematics. They both try to link up all the lore from previous games.
Yes.
You know, in Resident Evil 5, there's all of these notes and flavor texts and Easter eggs that go on. And importantly as well, they are both largely derided, even by those who think they're pretty good, as inferior to their groundbreaking predecessor. Snake Eater in the case of Metal Gear Solid 4 and Resident Evil 4 in the case of RE5. But I will say, and we'll get to this maybe a bit more in a second, I completely agree with what you mentioned in your intro, that one difference between those two games is that while in Resident Evil 5, they bring back Chris Redfield, the hero from the first game, in my opinion, it doesn't really feel like the same character.
Right.
They give him tree trunk arms. He, as people probably know, he literally punches a boulder. He could basically be anybody in that game. No disrespect to the voice actors or the developers. In this game, you really do feel like you are back with Solid Snake. He's old and crotchety, but he's the guy you've been spending all these hours with, all these games with. And that is something that, for all of its other flaws, where it really counted, I think they still succeeded.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to get into some of the gameplay quirks in a bit, but I would agree with that. It doesn't miss like Resident Evil 5. I think that's a completely fair assessment.
Rated M for mature.
In a future ravaged by war, one man has the world's military under his control.
The system is mine!
And only one legendary soldier can stop him.
This is my fight. Snake, I'm counting on you.
Courage is solid. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
The way we're talking about this, I think at this point is representative of how the fan base remains divided on this game as a whole. There's the camp that says they view it as a loving conclusion to the story. And then there's the other camp that feels it was cursed by an uneven development. You mentioned video essays. I mean, I scanned YouTube to see the most popular videos on this game, and the top two of them, the first one is called MGS4 was a mistake, which is actually a pretty good video.
Oh yeah, I like that one. I've seen that one.
It's more sympathetic than the title lets on, but it is critical. And the very next one, which I didn't think was very good, is titled MGS4 is a misunderstood masterpiece. Where I was not persuaded. So those are, I mean, it's divisive, and so it's interesting to go from kind of one camp to the other. Personally, from my first playthrough to my second, I'm more critical now than I was.
God, I mean, I remember texting you after my second playthrough and my conclusion then, and I think I probably stuck with this for the most part. That the first 2.5 chapters, I guess, meaning all of 1 and 2 and like all of the tailing part of chapter 3 are like probably the worst gameplay sections in the entire series.
Say more.
Okay, so a big thing this game does is, and this was bandied about a lot in the previews, was this concept of like war sneaking.
Yep.
That because of the war economy in the setting of this game, that Snake is sneaking around in these insurgencies and smaller scale conflicts between PMCs, which are now like the world is overrun with PMCs in the setting, and like local resistance groups, and you can side with the rebels by just like tranking a few PMCs in front of them, but for the most part you're just trying to evade these battles. And I thought every section like this was kind of terrible. I thought it was terrible because they didn't quite know what they wanted, how they wanted this to play out. The levels themselves are the most boring I've ever seen in the series, even though there is some good like verticality and you do have multiple options in a few ways. It reminds me the most of like the soulless Splinter Cell games, where they're just, like Blacklist. And the mechanics feel awesome. The controls feel great, but you really see how lacking it is when you try to go for like a big boss run. Because I did a run, my first run, I didn't kill anyone. Second run, I tried to go for no alerts, which I succeeded, but it was nerve-wracking because the AI just isn't good enough to have these like, for a game, large-scale conflicts between dozens of people.
I have a little bit about the development we can get to in a bit, but while promoting the game, Kojima and the rest of the promotion emphasized this Warzone strategy aspect to the game, and they really talked it up as a whole new aspect to the gameplay that hasn't been in a previous game, where you're making these decisions and interacting with two different sides of a war, if you so choose, or you could be a total mercenary, as well as also kind of vaguely hinting at psychological warfare mechanics. I don't know if they just meant the psych meter, which is fairly underwhelming, honestly, as like a new layer of management.
Well, you do in New Game Plus, you can get both smoke grenades, magazines, and bullets, both for your Mosin Nagant and your trank gun, that like you give people emotions. You shoot people with psychology bullets.
Oh, that's
basically.
funny.
Like you can make someone cry.
Yeah, well, there's a magazine that can make people cry. I knew that because that's in the original. There's called the Emotion Magazine or whatever, which I subscribe to, and I like that. I like that they got a cameo in the game. But
that's where both of us got our start, at the Emotion Magazine in New York.
That was the first Diggler post, was in Emotion Magazine. But and look, I mean, and then you play it and you're like, okay, this is kind of cute, but basically you can just give rebels a ration and then they go, thanks, dude, and then they don't shoot you as much. Like, it's not terribly sophisticated, which I don't think a lot of people were asking for this.
No,
I don't know. This is where we'll talk about development later, but it's just one of those things. And then they just abandoned it halfway through the game. You just don't do that anymore after the second chapter. So it's symptomatic of this game's issue, which is either this should have been a whole new approach toward Metal Gear, or you should have really made it a fan service bonanza that just delivered on what the series has always done best. And unfortunately, neither of those approaches was wholly embraced, it feels like.
I completely agree with that. And you really see it in their approach to like set piece segments, right? And set piece segments aren't anything new for Metal Gear. I would say they pioneered a lot of them. But the important thing about a lot of their set piece segments it was adding an ambitious idea or enemy or environmental feature to something that was already a part of the gameplay loop.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was after the Harrier fight in Metal Gear Solid 2 in the plant chapter, I think is a great example of this. The plant the part of the plant you're on is completely destroyed. You have to, climb on railings and just shimmy through under guards' noses. Yep. But it's still the same core loop you're doing where you're trying to line up M9 trank shots and observe their patterns. Metal Gear Solid 1 has a lot of this. It wasn't like, okay, you're in a completely new gameplay setting. You're piloting the Rex now.
Right.
Isn't this amazing? And what you said about what they promised for the war sneaking stuff, this is another thing that was emblematic of this time in games. And I don't know if this was because, I mean, a lot of this is related to problems with the PS3. I don't know if it's because like the PS3 they were told it would have certain capabilities and it just didn't, or these things were just way harder to implement than they thought they would be. But so many big games that I remember being previewed in like this 2008 to 2014 period, especially, where it's like you could go up to an enemy and figure out who his stepmom is and use that they didn't do that with Metal Gear, but every big game was like this. Ubisoft were huge offenders of it.
She's stuck in the washing machine, man. Can you help me out? Side quest.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what the infamous Watch Dogs preview. If anyone remembers that, the Watch Dogs preview, they basically used like a pre-rendered to make it look like gameplay, where you can like go into people's phones and like look at their contacts, and it's basically like that. Like a cop is rolling up, and you're like, we can show him that his stepmom's trapped in a refrigerator right now.
Yeah.
He has to fuck her out of it. And then he'll arrest himself instead of you. And then when you play it, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
That was a huge problem back then. And it's so weird and disheartening that it happened with Metal Gear, because every studio overpromises a little bit.
Mhm.
But I have a very strong memory for the lead up of Metal Gear Solid 3, at least from Kojima's team specifically. I never remember them promising something that just flat out wasn't in there.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, because what you're talking about, we've been saying this, if there are a handful of series that were pioneering in what they allowed you to do and the fun or even superfluous things you could do in game, this is one of those series. But this is the first game in this series, I would include the MSX stuff, where it feels like, generally speaking, the team is following trends rather than creating trends.
Absolutely.
Evil is powerful. But courage is solid.
Here we go!
Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
Maybe here's where I'll just give a little bullet points about the development for people who are less familiar, because naturally a lot of people try to find answers to why this game turned out the way it did by looking at its development history. The short version of that history is that the game, as Felix mentioned, was originally set to be directed by Shuya Murata, who was an associate of Kojima, because Kojima wanted to move on from this series. But after fan outcry, which according to Kojima included threats on his life, Kojima...
I believe that.
Yeah, I dug up the article. He said it in an interview.
That's the real Gamergate. It happens to men, too.
He acquiesced and took on the director role. It's in development for 3 years. We mentioned some of the inflated claims about what this game would be doing that didn't really end up coming true. As for the story, which Kojima declared would... I thought of your David Chase quote in this. Kojima declared would definitively close the series and answer all the mysteries, quote unquote. He at times suggested that Portable Ops was slowing down the writing for MGS4. Meanwhile, an employee, Ryan Payton, said that Kojima himself would spring new demands on the story, mostly to incorporate real-world, rip-from-the-headline stuff, which I presume we see mostly in the Middle East and South American parts of the game. And in a documentary about the game that came with the limited edition release, which I watched in preparation for this, it's clear that Kojima's ambitions got bigger and bigger, and the budget got bigger and bigger. They were even re-recording dialogue in the final months of development, and it just got away from everybody. So, of course, it makes sense to search for answers here, but we need not get too in the weeds, because, frankly, a lot of people try to do internet detective. People look at the departure of Tomokazu Fukushima, whom we mentioned in our episode on MGS2. He was the other credited writer besides Kojima on the first 3 games, and now he's absent. But when you poke around, people don't seem to actually have a clear sense of how much he contributed. Some even say, oh, he only did the codec calls. And it's like, okay, well, the codec calls contain most of the story of the past 3 games, so that would seem to be rather important. But I don't know any more than the rest of the fan base. So you had now this another former credited writer, Shuya Murata, who wrote the Cy-Hirsch version of the Shadow Moses incident on the menu of MGS2. And he was supposed to direct the game. Then that changes. But he went on to write Peace Walker and MGS5. Now, MGS5 has major story issues, in my opinion, but guess who else wrote on MGS5? Etsu Tamare, who wrote Metal Gear Rising, which a lot of people really love. So I don't think that the sort of shallow approach of, well, a good writer went away and then a new writer came on and it's all his fault is a very satisfying or persuasive explanation why this game was a bit of a disaster in its story.
I mean, I completely agree with that. I think it's so ridiculous when people do that, because it's basically like, think how ridiculous it would be if someone was like, all right, just using my powers of intuition, here's what I think is going on in like this branch of Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
Or just any random office, right? Now imagine they speak a language that you don't know a fucking word of.
Yeah.
And they're led by like one of the strangest and probably I mean, we love Kojima, but he's probably kind of fucking difficult to work for.
I would imagine so, yes.
I'm not accusing him of being like a shitty boss or like abusive, but just it's like the same way that I think James Cameron is probably very fucking difficult to work
Absolutely.
for. Or that like Roger Waters is a hard guy to have in the studio. You know, it's auteurs can be really hard to fucking work for because they have a billion fucking ideas. And when we've talked about it in the with the behind the scenes materials for every game we've covered so far, where Kojima was always trying to do things that just weren't possible at the time and aren't possible now. And a lot of people's jobs had to be like, we can't code a sequence where you're playing as Big Boss when he was a fetus. Like, we just can't do that.
But before we launch into it, I want to say this. You can already tell we're going to be pretty tough on this game because it's arguably the weakest game in a fantastic series. So we're grading on a curve. But in recording this and producing this with you, Felix, I've not only been playing the games, but I've sort of poked around and looked at, Twitch or YouTube and seen players who are coming to this series for the first time. I think maybe a little bit due to the excitement around the release of the remake of 3. And some of these people are actually already fans of Kojima. They just have played Death Stranding before they've even played Metal Gear. So either they're younger or they're our age, but they're coming to this stuff just now. And when they get to 4, I will say, a lot of people get pretty pumped up about it. They see it as this exciting, jam-packed finale that retains a lot of the style and the characters and just the world that they really grow to love after playing the first 3. And they don't worry so much about, I think, some of the things that we can't help but see in it. This is still a much more creative and interesting game than most AAA titles that come out now.
Right.
And I don't think that's lost on newer players or younger players. So I will say that that's nice to see. And in the spirit of that, it's not all bad. There are some things I really like about this game, and I'll say them now. I love the opening PMC commercials and fake TV channels. I love the music. It's some of my favorite music in the series. The theme for Old Snake, that guitar piece, is easily one of my favorite pieces of music in the series. And as I said before, maybe most importantly, they did succeed in sending off Solid Snake. Unlike almost every other character, new and old, in MGS4, I do think they get him right.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. It is sort of amazing that despite everything they did, they gave him an ending that I feel is both like true and fair to the character. And I can't think of any better way that they could have done it for him. And one last thing I'll say about this game, lest people think I am too harsh on it because I have a lot of gameplay notes. At the end of the last episode, we talked about how a game like Metal Gear Solid 3 is so rare, even though there were so many games like that in 2004. And it's kind of amazing that probably the best 2 years ever in gaming was immediately followed by maybe the worst era for it.
Yeah.
But games that you can go back and play 20 years later and they're still fucking amazing. And they just give you this indescribable feeling. They are so rare because they require dozens, if not hundreds of people working in creative and more technical fields to be at the absolute top of their game. And obviously everyone who worked on that game and worked on this game and worked on Portable Ops and Peace, they're all incredibly fucking talented people. All of them, obviously. But when you have like a really shitty and turbulent development where the lead guy has to come back in because like people were like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That's not conducive to like a good environment where everyone is at the top of their game. It just is not. And you can't point a gun at someone's head and go, make Snake Eater again. Dude, that made me think. You know those movies that when the DPRK they kidnapped that Japanese director?
I believe he was South Korean, not Japanese.
Oh, I thought I was sort of a Japanese guy.
I've actually seen one of them, Pulgasari. It's the North Korean Godzilla movie. It's quite fascinating. Yeah. Are you alluding to how making that movie and the other movies that guy made must have felt?
Yeah, like people weren't literally like taking Kojima out of his house, but I always think about that. Like, okay, make this movie or we'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Like, how good of a movie can you make?
Yeah. Principal Skinner saying it was a boking accident.
Oh my God, what happened to your fingers?
Boating accident.
I believe it was a boking accident. I have to go now.
So shall we dive into MGS4?
Let's jump in. So I played this on RPC S3, which is a PS3 emulation, and Brendan, you played it just on PS3 proper, right?
Yep, that's right.
This game is notorious for, at least if you played it on PS3, an incredibly long installation process that it's not, I don't think it's that bad and it's worth it to avoid super long loading times. But the first thing you see is this very, I really like it, the animated loading screen of Snake smoking.
I like it.
I think that's great.
And hey, I'll say it. If I say nothing else about this game, I will say I love this main menu with Snake in the cemetery and that music playing.
Yes.
It gets me very amped to play the game.
Do you like what you see outside your window? Will you ever respect the face in your mirror? Will your children thank you for the sacrifices you're about to make? Our mission is to hear you say yes. Perfecting the world through conquest of technology. Protecting civilian contingent through strategic combat solutions. Werewolf. Evolution. Reinvented.
We start off with a series of commercials. And these commercials are, they're sort of set in the world that we are going to be playing and experiencing everything in this game. But they are all live action. There's a commercial for a fitness class.
Well, some of them some of them aren't even commercials. They're just like
yeah, some of their shows. There's a very weird cooking show.
Yes.
It's repulsive. They're cooking some real like Mind of Jason food gore. Like it is, I expected him to show up.
But yeah, I love these because there's these shows. There's David Hayter being interviewed.
I think that's Ava's voice actress, correct?
Lee Merriweather, yeah. There's a fun fake game show where the host is being ceaselessly cruel to the contestant.
Oh God. I know that one.
Oh, I doubt that.
And then there's, of course, I actually think really well done, both visually and in terms of the satire, really well done commercials for the 4 major PMCs, private military companies that we'll be encountering throughout the game.
Yeah, I thought those were incredibly well done. They really, Blackwater didn't have commercials, but if they did, they would look like this. And you could tell they were heavily on Kojima's mind while he was making this game. I think like all the TV segments are incredibly well done. They all speak like, again, I always wish we had more of that, like just a glimpse of a show or a movie especially in this world of Metal Gear Solid before this, before the war economy where everything is very fallen, which is the implication of all these things. Like the David Hayter interview, they're just randomly attributing quotes to him and not listening to what he's saying.
What are your dreams?
Well, I'd have to say my dream project.
Let your dreams drive you.
A message of hope to today's young people from David Hayter.
I never actually said that.
With the cooking show is Mind of Jason food gore. The world described by the going haywire Colonel Campbell AI at the end of 2, this is it. This is the war economy. The world is just infested with PMCs. There's no veneer. There's no, you get the sense that like, things like having James Johnson rise to office, it's just forcing him to act normal. They can't do that anymore.
Yeah. And that like incredibly ugly and depressing things, if presented with the right production value and sheen, will just go down easy.
Yes. That is something I like about the sort of scene setting here. In the previous games, they operated on like sort of like a pre-global war and terror logic of like the government has to cover things up because if people found out, oh my God, if only people knew, there was still a pretense of institutions working. This idea that the right people exposing the right information was a threat to people in power. This is a world after information deluge.
Yep.
Where no one really cares to hide anything that much. Everyone seems to know about the Patriots, or at least they know about them way more than people did in previous games. But it is the sense of just it's not that people are so much lied to anymore as they are just caught in these endless cycles of regression, that they are too beaten down and they have completely abandoned politics as an avenue for any type of social or cultural change. And that, I think, is absolutely, chalk it up as a success for the game. But once that is done, we are in the Middle East. We know we're in the Middle East because we get that classic orange filter. Solid Snake is wearing a lovely kind of like hooded dress under his new muscle suit. And Snake looks like 30 years older than when we last saw him.
Although it's only 5 years or four or 5 years after MGS2.
It is 5 years. This game takes place in 2014 and MGS2, the plant chapter, is 2009. Right. So Snake should only be in his early 40s, but he looks like he could be in his 60s or 70s. He's on a battlefield. He gives you the war has changed narration, and you are immediately thrown into this. They try to introduce you to this system of war sneaking that we alluded to. You pick up an AK, and then immediately they introduce a new Metal Gear-ish thing that you'll be seeing a lot of in this game, the Gecko. And we've talked a lot about how Shinkawa kind of they let him loose with 2 afterwards, and I think I love the design.
I love the geckos. They're one of my favorite things about the game. I love their weird, sexy legs.
Yes,
with a Rex head on top. There is a kind of realism to how this technology would probably build on older technology, like the head of Rex, and in this case, some kind of organic, synthetic, but still somewhat organic element to their design where they have legs that can bleed. So it's just,
and they have that weird moo.
And I love that they sound like cows. I think it is actually a menacing noise when they process the sound a bit, and when you hear them coming, they look like kind of dumb but ultimately deadly creatures. Yeah, another win for Shinkawa.
I've never seen a design from him where I thought this is fucking dumb.
Nope.
He's awesome. If I was a cartel guy, I would kidnap him.
And make him
make our new logo. Yeah. One of the things I love about the geckos, and this is a theme of this game, and you see it a little bit in Phantom Pain, definitely in Metal Gear Rising, but this idea that as the humans, especially the humans we play as, seem to get less human, they're becoming more like androids, that the actual steel and composite material robots that we see, or whatever you want to call them, they're getting more like humans. They're going the complete opposite direction.
Right.
What I love with the geckos too, they don't just look, more biological than previous gears we've seen. The way that they kill people is like completely, like they do have guns and missiles, but a lot of the especially in this scene when you see them killing people, they just stomp on them in this horrifying fashion.
Very animalistic.
Yeah, and it's like if the first Metal Gears were like giant early sea organisms. These are like the things that crawled out of the water. We see them kill a bunch of these insurgent-looking guys in truly horrifying fashion, and so you have to evade them. This is a pretty weird gameplay sequence that you expect to be a tutorial, and it really isn't. You don't really learn any of the new gameplay quirks. You do get acquainted with like the movement, which you now have a crouch walk, which is quite nice.
Oh boy, doesn't that feel good?
Every game should have a crouch walk, even like real-time strategy games. There's no reason not to have it. But
I do it in life usually when I'm out and about.
It's actually kind of hard to do.
It is. I do like the game kind of makes you think about how much it's probably killing Snake's back to do that all the time. That's sort of hit with me a bit. I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably really lousy to just spend 45 minutes at a time. Especially when you're artificially 78 years old.
Yeah, we get a short sequence of escaping the geckos, which is this is one of the script sequences that I actually think works.
Yeah, I like this opening a lot.
And you get a cool little, even though you don't really there is a camo index in this game, and I actually kind of like what they do. They have this, I think it's called Octo Camo.
Yep.
Where Snake's muscle suit, which is also the in-game explanation, is that it basically makes up for his aging body by reinforcing places where he has like shot tendons or maybe slipped discs, and makes him effectively stronger and faster. It has camouflage that detects what environment it's in. So if you're leaned up against a wall, it will take the pattern of the wall if you stay there for a few seconds, and then you can go to your menu and register that camo and use it for later. And if you want to reset it, you can just shake your controller, which I think is cool. So it's a lot less. You're not going into menus nearly as much for camouflage as you are in 3, and you can just choose not to engage with it too.
It's a nice streamlining of what they introduced in 3, I would say.
Absolutely. So we see it in effect in a cutscene when a gecko is about to stomp on a box, and we think Snake is in this box, a box of watermelons. But Snake had popped out, and we see that his suit has the patterns of the watermelon.
When it rolls over to you,
as
you're disguised against the kind of beige wall, it hits his thigh, and then that little bit of his thigh goes watermelon colors.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't run into Gallagher.
That would be.
What if that's how the series ended? Gallagher, like his suit is doing the watermelon thing, and Gallagher just kills him.
I would prefer Gallagher to Vamp. If I had,
he would be a way better villain.
He has a truly hateful ideology, I think. So.
Oh yeah, he is. Gallagher is kind of like a Metal Gear villain.
Yeah, he's over the top. That's for sure.
I heard this insane Gallagher interview where he said, "I invented a restaurant where it would be shaped like all your family members."
That's Outer Haven, the snakes on the side of the arsenal here.
This is the nightmare we've won for ourselves. Outer Haven.
But Gallagher isn't in this game. But yeah. Anyway, so we escape the geckos and we get a flashback scene. Snake he's wearing a suit, still looking old as shit. And he is in front of a tombstone similar to Big Boss at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. And I always, we come back to this later, but I really don't like this.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Why is
it makes no sense.
He never knew the fucking boss. He wasn't even alive. When she was alive, no one would have told him about her.
Well, it's also Big Boss's stand-in grave.
Oh,
yeah,
I thought it was the boss's. But that's stupid too.
Both are stupid.
He should be at Gray Fox's grave.
So there was a theory that it is Gray Fox's grave, and I thought, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense, and I like that. But if you look, it says they were born in the 30s, which would be Big Boss, not Gray Fox.
Yeah.
It's a weird way to, I think, prepare you for the level of flashbacks and callbacks this game will be experiencing. He should have done this at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Or again, just make it Gray Fox's grave. But it makes no sense why he would, whether he knew where the grave was located or not, why he would at this point have a positive feeling toward Big Boss. In fact, in several Kodak calls, he disparages him and calls him a war criminal. So it doesn't work for me either. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, doing it with Gray Fox, it makes more sense for the character. The relationship between Gray Fox and Solid Snake is way more like the relationship between Boss and Big Boss than Big Boss and Solid Snake is. And it still achieves that thing of like, hey, look, we're everyone is regressing. And also it works so well for the themes of this game because Solid Snake, everything that he tried to achieve in 2 and they kind of failed at, it was because of what Gray Fox told him. And now he's reconciling with the idea that he tried to do what Gray Fox told him to do, and it didn't work. I thought about this a lot with the themes of the game, that every game to this point in this series, besides Metal Gear Solid 1, I think, kind of, it is a hollow victory because it is a fake, completely contrived and engineered conflict they're fighting in one way or the other. They don't even have to verbalize that concept, but it just would have made way more sense. But anyway,
agreed.
This gets cut short because a very old-looking Colonel Roy Campbell shows up in a helicopter
with Hal. Our buddy.
With Hal. Hal and Snake have a short conversation about Snake's advanced aging.
Your early aging symptoms look like classic Werner syndrome. But none of the tests were able to pinpoint the cause. So, well, judging by how rapidly the aging has progressed, I'd say a year at best, right?
Campbell tells Snake that they have found a guy named Liquid Ocelot in the Middle East. And I think this is weird because it's like, you were a colonel, like what country?
Yeah, he's part of the Security Council and they want Snake to do a secret hit on Liquid. Should this be where I lay out my little problem with the entire premise of the game's story? Because it's basically...
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Here's one of my biggest issues with the game is the entire premise concerning the Patriots and Liquid. I do not think this game ever does a great job at conveying what the stakes are in this showdown. Because at first it appears that Liquid wants to destroy the Patriots and their systems, leaving the world, I suppose, in anarchy, which would sound a little bit more like Liquid, trying to recapture the spirit of Outer Heaven. But then halfway through the game, they switch his motivation into wanting to simply take over the Patriots and run their system, not destroy it, when he's on the Volta River.
Yes.
And all we hear the entire game, extended speeches by different characters about how evil the Patriots system is, how it destroys individuality and monitors every single bowel movement you do, and how the world is in a perpetual state of warfare because of it now, the war economy. So at every point, I was just thinking, what difference does it make if Liquid takes over and plunges the world into a state of war? You're already telling me that the Patriots have plunged the world into a state of constant war. Like, does Liquid want to launch nukes all over the world? They never say that. There's just never a sense where you feel Liquid will escalate how bad things are, even if things are really bad with the Patriots. And they kind of keep trying to gesture toward the threat of Liquid. Ultimately, the final version is on the Missouri, where the colonel says, once Liquid destroys JD and controls the AIs, his PMCs will spread over the globe.
If Liquid succeeds in destroying JD and gaining control of the Patriots system, he'll make Haven his flagship, and his PMCs will spread like wildfire across the globe.
Which is exactly where things are at the top of the game when the colonel tells us Liquid's PMCs are all over the globe and they're controlled by Outer Heaven.
This mother company embodies the 5 largest PMCs. Her name is Outer Heaven.
Outer Heaven? You mean?
That's right. It's Liquid.
Liquid.
Because the cliche that would serve us pretty well here would be to use what they were alluding to more in the second game. The Patriots represent tyrannical control, the panopticon, that despite that evil delivers peace and stability. While Liquid would represent like anarchic violence that nevertheless preserves human freedom and choice. Instead, in this game, it's this weird muddle.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a wasted premise because I think that idea of the war economy is incredibly interesting. Like there could be an incredibly interesting critique there about like why the Patriots defaulted to the war economy.
Sure.
And they never really try to explain it. They allude to it, but they never really try to explain it, even though I think they could have said so many interesting things or just done so many interesting things with it. But no, it's just like it reminds me of like what we were talking about with how you use a villain like Volgan versus how Solidus was used.
Yep.
It shows that Liquid Ocelot, already a stupid concept for a character.
Yes.
And maybe Ocelot himself, he needs like a Volgan or a Liquid or someone like that to work with so his premise of like, oh, he's actually a triple, quadruple, quintuple agent. Yep. There's some actual like tension and stakes, and you can kind of see what he's getting at. When he's the main guy, it's just okay. So you're just a generic evil guy, but you're not. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do this? What difference does it make to anyone?
They already did this better in Metal Gear Solid 2 with Solidus.
Yes.
I was pretty tough on Solidus in our second episode, but one thing I really did enjoy about his character was his ideology and motivation, that while villainous was very different than the threat from the Patriots and provided a nice contrast, creating, this kind of triangle between the Patriots, Solidus, and, Team Raiden, Team Snake. I submit this game the story would have worked out a lot better if you dumped Liquid coming back. Like, he never really had a connection in the original game of destroying the Patriots. That was crowbarred into the second game.
Mm-hmm.
Just say Ocelot got better. Okay. It was Solidus who was the proper antagonist to the Patriots. Get rid of Liquid Ocelot. Have Solidus be resurrected in this game somehow. We know people can get resurrected.
Yeah.
And have him trying to finally end the Patriots once and for all because of the very clear differences he has in his motivation versus the Patriots. Because then you get a much more interesting like web of relationships in the game and emotional stakes, because Raiden, who I find to feel why I like Raiden in this game, he feels very tacked on.
Yeah.
Instead, you would have he's coming back because Solidus is there. He hates Solidus. But Snake maybe has to pair up with Solidus in order to defeat the Patriots. So then you're kind of in conflict with Raiden because he can't see the bigger picture. He just hates and wants to kill Solidus so much. And then Ocelot can be running around in the background doing tricks. And that would have been a much more interesting and dynamic set of characters and motivations than this very muddled business with Liquid versus the Patriots, to say nothing of what the fuck even is going on with Liquid Ocelot as a composite
or
character.
Naomi. I mean, like,
or Naomi.
I think you could even retained this basic setting and central conflict if you did something where it's like the world isn't. I like this idea that the system is sort of degraded, but still have it so that people who live in like in like the sphere of the Anglo-American Empire, let's say, in the West, they still live a life of basic comfort that is insulated from the war economy. And the war economy only happens in the periphery.
Right.
Which is what I think they were trying to get at, but it just, for whatever reason, they didn't do it. Then have it so Liquid Ocelot is working in tandem with someone who represents like a faction within like the Patriots network, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they know it's fucking AI. Someone who wants to like
a Senator Armstrong almost.
Yeah, like a Senator Armstrong type who wants to like progress past this like weird like proxy war like this sort of like Bircher versus Kissinger thing.
Exactly, like the balance of power versus the cowboy, the Yankee versus the cowboy. Exactly.
You retain Ocelot's plot, and part of their plot is that Ocelot is going to gain control of all these PMCs that the Patriot Network use. and, turn it into like large scale conflicts or whatever the fuck, where you could do whatever. But that would have made the character dynamics and the motivations just be so much more legible than whatever the fuck they are here. The plot of this game as it is akin to making like, if Aaron Sorkin made like an electoral drama about like who's going to become mayor of Berlin in 1942 in Germany. Yeah, like who gives a fuck? Like, oh, is there a bad guy is gonna run Berlin?
Yeah, that's all a way of saying. In this opening briefing, the colonel says that Liquid, which again, you should have had it be that Liquid wants to become the chief of the PMCs, but they just start the game where he already is the chief of the PMCs.
Yeah.
So there goes a goal he could have.
And if he gets control of the system, he can like snap his fingers and make everyone shit. He can already do that.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
You know what though? This game is the start of a trend in these games that it gets pulled back a bit in Peace Walker, but you see it a lot in the final two games. A departure from story and replacing story with themes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works a lot better than others. Like, I think Phantom Pain is a great example of it working for the most part. This is an example of it not working.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's we're now on the Nomad, which is a plane that Otacon, Solid Snake, and Sunny, Olga's kid, all live on.
Raiden saved Olga's child, right?
Yes.
And now she lives with her two dads.
And Sunny's a computer genius, which I hate this kind
I don't
of
like that
character.
Yep.
I hate it. I fucking hate when they make a character who's like, oh, they're like, they're 6 years old in 2014. You know what that means? They're great with computers. And it's like, no, it doesn't. I've worked with a lot of Zoomers in a professional capacity. They don't know anything because they were raised on tablets. They don't know what Linux is.
Well, no, it's a very clunky way, I think, of trying to say our hope lies with the next generation who's unburdened.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's also like, it's another mirror duality that like Raiden was sort of raised in custody of the Patriots in the same way that like Gray Fox was with the Philosophers. And because they were raised by like, these older iterations, they were raised as like black bag operators, which was the tip of the spear for like the Philosophers or the older form of the Patriots. Whereas Sunny, because she was raised by this newer iteration, she was trained as a hacker. Which I think you could have done something kind of interesting with it, but Sunny is she has all the like annoying, precocious child genius character traits. Like I'm sure there's a way to do this character that isn't annoying as shit, and she's like way more likable and like filled out as a character in Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah.
But in this game, so we see a little bit of that because Colonel Campbell and Snake are talking. He's explaining this whole mission, this whole like hit job on Liquid to him on the plane. And we alluded to how long these plane briefing segments are. They sort of throw you a fig leaf by letting you pilot the Metal Gear MK3, which is
the little droid.
It's from Snatcher, actually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a little droid that Hal made, and you can actually use it to pick up batteries and other items that lay around the plane. While that's happening, Sunny cooks like just an abomination of an egg meal. And this is, we're going to keep going back to the eggs she's cooking. These suck, and we know they suck because no one wants to eat them.
Yep.
Hal is like, the classic thing of like, oh my God, I'm in the blue part of the computer. And Sunny tries to bother him, and he's like, not now. Don't you see I'm in the blue part? She tries to bother Campbell and Snake, and they don't even acknowledge her. That's how gross her shitty meal looks.
They do succeed in making the eggs look bad.
Yeah, I lost my appetite when I saw this. I would have thrown her off the plane.
That layer of brown on the edges that makes it...
But this is where our child-free stuff comes in. She sees a cigarette on Snake's plate, and she screams loud as shit. On this plane, it would echo. It would be really annoying. She goes, "This is a no smoking plane," and it's like, he's dying, you fucking idiot. This reminds me so much. I have a grandmother who's like 105 fucking years old.
Yeah, I think about her.
Yeah, Jesus. I think about giving her heroin every time I see her. And, you know, she traveled a lot and like rode her bike everywhere until she was like 98. But anyhow, our cousin was like, I should start taking walks with her so she'll like drink less. And we were like, she's 105. Like, what do you think? She's going to get like 3 months sober and then like get back into basketball?
Yep.
Maybe get a job? No, we should give her more alcohol. We should give her more everything. Like, what the fuck? Well, what are you going to, Snake? It's the same way.
Yeah.
He is he gets maimed in this game. We said that he's like Nordberg in The Naked Gun in this game, and it's really true. But he starts out fucked up.
Yeah.
I would be giving this guy unfiltered cigarettes. I'd be like, let's end your misery, buddy.
Yeah. Like, I think the game knows that things feel off, even though you're hoping they feel like old times. You know, why is Snake dying? I don't like that Snake's dying. Can we stop Snake from dying? But at the moment, he assigns us to go kill Liquid in the Middle East, where ethnic minorities have conflicts with the regime.
Okay, slow down, Professor. Can we get a little more vague?
Yeah, we're in the Middle East, and it's yellow.
Yeah, watch out for insurgents over there, which is just, I guess, the entire population.
Yep. But everyone says, like, hey, thanks for the ration.
Yeah.
Here. Hey, thanks. Hey.
I mean, if I was one of those guys who was like, this game's actually genius, I'd be like, that's Kojima saying that the insurgents are the same as us.
Exactly, yeah.
They all speak like Californian English.
Yeah. That's an awful lot of gecko for this scenario. Their numbers exceed the war price for that region. It must have something to do with Liquid's arrival on the scene.
You really think he's here?
You'll have to find the Army's operatives and ask them yourself.
Okay, so this is our first proper gameplay sequence. We start out in the Middle East, the home of ethnic conflict, and you get a few sort of more standard Metal Gear sneaking sections here. There's immediately like a tank and a small patrol of like 3 soldiers you have to evade. But almost immediately, you see a guy, when you're crawling through a ruined building, you see a guy fall off a ruined set of stairs and then get shot to death by another mercenary. And during this initial portion, where you're sort of getting acquainted with the controls, getting acquainted with the concept of stress, which affects your psych meter, we alluded to the thing with crouch walking. If you stay crouched and idle for like a minute, Snake will start like going, oh, my back, and like leaning on it.
Twist his back a little bit.
Yeah, and you actually can increase your stress by crouching too much. You can pick up a thing called back compresses, which actually decrease your stress. But I did like that they were incorporating Snake's oldness into the gameplay.
Yeah.
Furthermore, CQC is back. And they do a kind of a ridiculous... I didn't even think they needed to explain this. Like, I really wish they didn't explain this, but Snake has abandoned punch, kick. He can do CQC now. During a codec conversation, Otacon's like, wow, I didn't know you could do CQC. Snake explains that he was taught CQC by the master and Big Boss, but Big Boss is he thought he was such a bad guy and a war criminal and betrayed his own unit that he refuses to do CQC now, which is like, you're a soldier.
Yeah.
Like, Special Forces was invented by a Nazi, Anna Scorzeni, or you're just no more sneaking then, right?
Felix, it was invented by the boss. She's the mother of Special Forces.
I'm sorry. You're right. Did you know that was originally going to be the boss? There was originally going to be... I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
What?
So in Metal Gear... Infamously, there were a lot of scrapped villains for Metal Gear Solid 2. One, I don't think I should say it. His name is a racial slur.
Okay.
C-Man.
Okay.
Yeah, you may have read about him, who is actually Vietnamese, but his character was going to say he's more Chinese than the Chinese. A really weird character.
I thought Mei Ling was a little dodgy.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on and what he was thinking. But anyhow, there was another character that was supposed to be like over like 120 years old by the time of the plant mission. And he was supposed to be a former Third Reich Special Forces guy who taught the big boss.
Oh, interesting.
That character kind of got split in two.
Mm-hmm.
And they made him not a Nazi. They made him a former Red Army guy in the end.
Right.
And they made him also not a member of the Third Reich and the boss. So, it's never throw anything out. Sometimes your worst idea ever can turn into some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
But it's just such a stupid rationale. And he explains that since they've declassified all these files on Big Boss, everyone started doing CQC.
Yeah.
Which, again, CQC is just like, it's judo combined with like holding a gun. Like, so no one figured that out until like, what who gives?
They've always kind of treated CQC as this like strange, mysterious art that it really doesn't look like, but I guess it's a little suspension of disbelief. But yeah, he says, I didn't used to do it because Big Boss was bad. So I punched once, twice, and then kicked instead. But now I'm doing it again because the young whippersnappers aren't doing it right.
Yeah, when they do their cookie cutter CQC at me, which that's such a weird thing to call like any martial art cookie cut. Like you aren't supposed to like you aren't supposed to be like, here's my interpretation of what a throw looks like. No, there's like one correct way to do it.
And also, it's interesting though. You cannot. The CQC is not as advanced as it was in 3. You can't. You can't interrogate people and get information.
Oh no, you can interrogate people, but you do it during a holdup.
But you can't like put the knife to their throat like Big Boss used to do. Right.
Right. But there is an improvement in that you can do CQC with two-handed weapons. And there are some actually pretty cool animations for that. I will credit where credit's due. And it does feel very fluid in the game when you do it, even though I would have liked for you to be able to hold the knife to their throat. They bring that back later.
Well, just as a small point, I do like the way this game feels.
Yes.
It may not be put to superior use compared to other games in the series, but it's kind of a hybrid between 3 and 5 because it's still got it's got a little bit of the old school clunkiness in its menu systems.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously a 3D camera. It's modern aiming and shooting, Resident Evil 4 over the shoulder mechanic. You can walk and shoot at the same time. You can crouch walk. It's not that I think 3 was inferior for not having these things, but it was about time that they came into the series, probably.
Yeah, and that is kind of what I think is the tragedy in only having only 2 or 3 traditional stealth segments.
And then a very short one at the end, before you walk into Arsenal gear.
And the one at the end is the best one in the entire game, in my opinion. It lasts 2 minutes.
Yep.
At least when this game came out, this was the best the game had ever felt.
Yeah.
Just as far as controlling Snake. And it really is hardly ever used to its greatest effect. But I do think this initial segment I like it, even though I think I have a real problem with the first 2 chapters and just how generic the levels are. And this is very generic Middle East. There is some cool verticality in some parts, but it is just, if you've played one Call of Duty game, you've seen this level. And so eventually you get a cutscene where the MK3, which also has stealth camouflage, shows up. This is how you're going to be communicating with Otacon in a lot of the cutscenes in the game. He's going to be tailing you in this MK3 that's always with you, and kind of on a Zoom call with you.
Yeah.
Furthermore, he delivers you your operator, which is your regular silence lethal handgun, and silencer deterioration is back.
Yep.
But You also have a tranq pistol that is internally silent, so it is an infinite suppressor. And you get the solid eye, which I actually think is kind of cool.
It's cool.
So the solid eye it's a 3-in-1, basically. It's binoculars,
night vision
that also functions as IR vision or thermal vision.
Yeah.
And then this sort of like the real life thing where like what Google Glass is trying to be, like enhanced reality or some shit.
Oh, how it tags guys or marks them, labels them. Yeah. But it also is your radar as well, right?
Yes. I actually think some of the things they do later in the game with the frogs being able to hear it is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the better things they do in the game is consolidate a few classic gadgets. And now this is your first section of like full scale combat snaking, where you are seeing the PMCs fighting the insurgents, the rebels. We talked about how they alluded to having a number of choices in who you can align with. You actually cannot align with the PMCs.
I know. I thought I misremembered that. I was like, wait, don't they say it's up to you? But it kind of renders the whole thing toothless, you know?
Yeah, it is. It is very toothless because any problem you could have with the rebels is completely abated if you just trank like one or two guys in front of them, one or two PMCs in front of them, or give them a ration. And they go, hip, hip, hooray, we love you.
Yep.
So that leads into one of the only costume segments in the game where you go into the rebel hideout. Now, if you did not make them go hip, hip, hooray, you do have to sneak through here like normal. But if you did, they just go, who are you? Oh, I remember you. Hey.
Yeah. Cowabunga. I'm from Syria, by the way.
Yeah. Hang 10. Have a sick Ramadan.
Yeah.
Hang 12. I'm a shit. If you did not make them go hip hip hooray, you can find a costume for the rebels in a locker. And it's so stupid. Like the costume is just like a robe that Snake is putting on over his horrifying looking muscle suit.
Is this his Assassin's Creed thing, basically? Yeah.
That's really why hasn't the PMC tried doing that? Just like putting on robes and be like, hey, we're you. But anyhow, this leads to sort of most well-articulated interior of this entire chapter. You go into this hotel, this 4-story hotel. There are some claymores and also a new trap, which is kind of like a sleeping gas mine.
Yep, that's what it's called.
There are, I think, 4 stories of this hotel. Like, if you've played any of these games, you know any segment where you're picking up an unusual amount of rations, you're probably about to do a guard rush sequence.
Right.
So you make it to the top floor, and you run into a very familiar face. Meryl.
Is that you? What happened to your face?
Accelerated aging. They don't know the cause.
Oh my God.
Meryl Silverberg is back. She is here with Rat Patrol. And Rat Patrol is an internal army police unit that is they're sort of the police for the PMCs. Everyone in the unit is just, they're completely nanomachined up. It's heavily implied that like everyone involved in the war economy or any just actual state-run military is completely outfitted with nanomachines that both increase their combat capabilities, can make them recover from wounds faster, and in the case of Rat Patrol, it makes them function as a more cohesive unit when they're engaged in firefights.
Regulates their bodies and we learn later emotions, things like that.
The nanomachines keep track of the soldiers and their real-time personal data 24 hours a day. They monitor each man's position, movement speed, reserve ammo, firing accuracy, wounds, rations, water intake and supply, sweat secreted, heart rate, blood pressure and sugar levels, oxygen. All the data gathered on body condition, on sensory organ data showing pain and fear, data on every internal response within the body. All of it is collected by an AI at the system's core.
There's one odd man out in Rat Patrol though we don't learn the full story until the final chapter. Another familiar face, Johnny Sasaki.
Another familiar ass.
Yeah. There is actually a scene where you see him shitting just in the middle of the street. During the wartime sneaking segment. I forgot about that. That's the gameplay sequence where you're given the barrel.
Yeah. No, that's when you meet him for the first time, I believe. Yeah. He's shitting in a barrel, and you naturally, as soon as he leaves, go inside of that barrel and roll around it.
How did that not kill Snake? Like, I feel like if I put like an elderly relative in like a rusted oil barrel filled with diarrhea, that's the end. But anyhow, I love how Gears of War Rat Patrol looks. Like there's the Mohawk guy.
They're just complete generic.
They are nothing.
Soldier guys.
They are just basically like, good to meet you. I'm a generic soldier. I was auditioning for Army of Two and I didn't make it. So now I'm in this game.
But then there's Johnny. And Johnny is constantly shitting. He was the guard at Shadow Moses that we snuck away from because of his diarrhea. He is listenable in Metal Gear Solid 2, as we discovered. And his grandfather had diarrhea when he should have been watching Big Boss in Snake.
Yes. Oh, and another character that is introduced in this section of the first chapter.
Oh, boy.
I would say the worst character in the game.
Easily.
So we meet Drebin.
Pretty sweet, huh? Oh, hold it. Watch where you pointing that thing. Who are you? Neither enemy nor friend.
And one of the worst things about Drebin is that he's a dogshit character, and his name is taken from a great character.
Yeah.
Frank Drebin from Naked Gun. So, in Metal Gear Solid 2, they explain that Raiden can't pick up the guns of the Gorlukovich soldiers because they're ID locked. Now, in Metal Gear Solid 4, during the war economy, every gun is ID and nanomachine locked. Drebin is a gun launderer. So when you pick up a gun, he can unlock it for you. And so these unlocked guns are naked guns.
Well, that's clever. I still hate him and wish he were not in the game.
Yeah. I hate him even though he gives us like a pretty great gun. Like he gives us a silenced M4, which is like kind of the only gun you need if you're really toughing it out. But he's still such a shitty, he's a terrible character. And I laughed out loud when I remembered that in the pause menu, there's a Drebin's shop where you spend in-game currency on guns.
Yep.
It's like fucking 2008 sucked, man.
Yep.
None of us ever thought that when you played Snake Eater in 2004, you would have never guessed that they would do this shit.
And we'll mention it when it comes up, but he is unfortunately the character appointed. Now, I wish everyone in this game were speaking 75% less than they do.
Yes.
But he's responsible for so much exposition.
The stuff they haven't give exposition, we'll get to it. I have a lot to say about that, but he's such a weird character because he's like the exposition guy who tells you like the tragic backstory of all the bosses in the game.
Yeah.
But he also is like the comic relief.
Yep.
Because he has a little albino monkey, which, by the way, people who keep primates as pets are evil.
And again, it's very 2008, where they give him the monkey, they give him soda. He loves soda. It's just like this arbitrary comic thing about him. And then he has that stupid catchphrase, "I have you," where he does the little sign language or whatever.
That doesn't mean anything, Drebin, you fucking idiot.
So in this scene, when we learn all this about him, he gives us new nanomachines that allow us to use his laundered guns. I don't know why Snake fucking agreed to that. And he drives off in his armored car. And then you now have the ability to use him in the menu as a merchant, where you can buy basically anything you want so long as you have your Drebin points, which are achieved by selling him stuff, just superfluous guns that you pick up. And also sometimes you can do stuff that gets you Drebin points, bonus Drebin points. And that's just one of the mechanics of the game, for better or for worse.
One thing that I thought about the Drebin point system is I kind of did get the narrative point of it, which is every time you see a large scale conflict, if you're really into the Dragon Point system or if you just really want a specific gun, because Dragon does sell you a few guns early on that can break the game. This game has more guns than any other entry in the series before 5, and most of them are totally useless. And this was a huge Call of Duty influence. Most of the guns are just shittier versions of what you already have.
Right.
Like shittier pistols, shittier assault rifles, a couple that are kind of fun or cool to use. Shotguns have their purpose in both sides, but he sells you a Barrett 50 cal that is incredibly useful later on, but it costs like 500,000 Dragon points or something.
Yep.
So anytime you see like a large scale conflict and a bunch of people are dying, you're like, oh, goody.
Yeah.
I can pick up their guns, and I get the narrative point of that, but it's like, could you have given us something like, could you have like Drebin like drives off a cliff?
You see, I take ID guns like the PMCs use and make some mods. Then you can use them without having to match IDs. In other words, I'm a gun launderer.
Anyhow, we're in the hotel, we're meeting Rat Patrol and Meryl. In this first scene with her, I thought she's still like completely like head over heels for Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's just fucking pissed at him for being old and going on another hit. And she's really pissed it's for Roy Campbell.
Right.
She hates her former uncle.
Current father.
Been promoted to father, Roy. Because Roy is marrying a woman who is Meryl's same age.
Yes.
She thinks it's disgusting. She also has kind of an acrimonious relationship to Snake because they did have, like, I guess, a weekend in an Airbnb after Shadow Moses, but Snake just kind of ghosted her, it seems like.
It seems that way, yeah.
The crux of the scene is Meryl is mad at you for being old, mad at you for going on another hit despite being old, which, again, it's like, okay, you guys had sex and he ghosted you, like, fucking 10 years ago almost.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like visibly dying. What's wrong with letting this guy who says he's like a soulless killer at this point just like do this hit and die?
Well, this is another, I'll be a broken record and I won't go on as long, but this is another bit where I'm just like, they needed a second draft here of like articulating what is going on and why people are motivated by certain things. There's this scene, and then there's the one in Prague, basically Prague, where she's like, you can't kill Liquid, I'm supposed to kill Liquid. And it's like, why can't you both just work together? Like, why? Yeah. It's just weird engineered conflict.
You work together.
I know.
It's so fucking stupid.
It's just, again, it's like they wrote a kind of dummy version and said, like, later on we'll figure out why this is a conflict.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Meryl, it's nice to see her. But we're thrown into a...
We get ambushed by Haven Troopers, which are, the frogs. It's an all-female enemy class these are like the strong mobs in these games.
Yep.
You have to shoot their helmet off in order to trank them.
Yeah.
They take a few more rounds because they also are wearing... I would say a decent amount of body armor, too. If you get the 5.7, you can just tear through them because it's armor piercing. Every gun in this game has stats, of course. I've given my opinion on guard rushes in this game, but it's just like, after we saw them do the best iteration of a guard rush in the most recent game, having us do this where there's no stealth option, it's just another kind of set piece thing that, by the way, is scripted heavily because Rat Patrol, who are fighting with you, if you go too far ahead of them, they just stop moving and no enemies spawn. So you have to run back to them.
Yep.
So they path in the right way and enemies continue to spawn. It's just, that is another thing that is wrong with the gameplay in this game. The over-reliance on scripting, it breaks down so easily and you see the seams coming out so many times without even trying. But, okay, you have this bonding experience with Rat Patrol. Johnny, like, fucks up, but then he, like, hacks a fucking wall mine because he's the tech guy. You get to the lobby, and it's like, hooray, we killed 80 insane women. We killed 80 women who were probably kidnapped and forced to be crazy soldiers. We're awesome.
That's unfair. That's not a theme in this game, as far as I remember. Women being insane all the time, and
yeah. There is, yeah. I like that idea that Liquid Ocelot's like, what's the secret weapon of my faction is crazy women.
Yep.
These broads are nuts.
Female mood swing is my. We'll talk. We will talk. Although we see them now, right? Don't we? Basically,
right. Well, this is about to be our first introduction to one of them. I would it just reminds me of remember how he characterized Fortune, her dad dying, her husband dying, having a miscarriage, and he was like, "You loved all the drama."
Yep.
So imagine what he was saying to the Beauty and Beast unit in this game.
We get a teaser of them. We don't fight one of them right now, but we get a teaser of them in the street. We see these mecha women, a unit of 4. We'll save the general assessment of the B&B unit for a second, but they're trying to do a tribute to Boss's past. So you have Laughing Octopus. She has Solidus arms, but Decoy Octopus camouflage abilities, or echoes of that. There is Raging Raven. She flies and is angry. Crying Wolf, who is on all 4s and sounds a lot like Gray Fox. Incidentally, it's an element of her I noticed that I didn't notice the first time. And Screaming Mantis, who has a bunch of arms and is obviously in some sense perceived controlling people's bodies and puppeteering them. And there's a little, I want to say Easter egg, but it actually turns out to be an element of the plot where during this cutscene as they're rampaging around, go into L1 first person mode, you can see above all of them, good old MGS1's Psycho Mantis puppeteering.
Yeah.
Screaming Mantis.
Yeah, it turns out that Screaming Mantis is okay.
Here we go.
Liquid, it was horrible if Liquid got control of the SOP, the Sons of the Patriots system, because he would be able to control everyone's nanomachines.
Yep.
But he also has this insane woman who can that's what her psychic abilities are, is that she can fuck with people's nanomachines.
She's not actually psychic. She can manipulate nanomachines that are in your body as if she were controlling your body in and of itself.
So he can already fuck this game.
Anyway, we just meet the B&B unit. We'll talk about them later, but we don't fight any of them yet. They kind of freak out and run away. And then we get through a little bit more sneaking bits on our way to see Liquid because we know he's nearby.
Yeah, these are mercifully non-combat sneaking. It's very standard Metal Gear stuff, but it's nice to sneak through some ruined buildings. There's a small section in an army encampment that I found quite fun.
Yeah.
But it's very short.
We come across Liquid Ocelot. Let's leave behind for a moment what the fuck that even means. Everyone's going to call him Liquid, so he's Liquid.
It's implied that Liquid fully took over his personality, but he stopped talking like that was a deal they made.
He
was like, you can have my you can run the personality part, but I get to sound like me.
Snake, brother, we are free.
It's Liquid, and Naomi Hunter is with him, and they have essentially achieved the ability in this test to shut off everyone's nanomachines.
They can already do it.
They can disable the SOP. And what happens as a result of that, I'm borrowing from the future cutscenes, but Lord knows we don't want to walk through every moment in which things are being explained. So I'm kind of synthesizing future explanations here. But what Liquid does with Naomi's help, because by the way, Naomi, she was a geneticist, right? In the first game?
there is in the Metal Gear universe, you aren't any. If you learn any STEM discipline, you can just do it all. Your job is science guy.
She was a geneticist, but she minored in nanomachines. So Naomi is apparently helping Liquid, although possibly against her will, in his pursuit to destroy the Patriots. That's his motivation at the moment, because that's what his motivation was at the end of MGS2. He shuts off the SOP, and basically everyone without their bodies or emotions, indeed, being regulated by the Patriots nanomachines, they freak out. And it's implied that their minds and to a degree their bodies are catching up with all of the trauma that they've experienced and not cared about given the regulatory nature of the Sons of the Patriots system. And that includes Snake, even though his nanomachines are older.
I think with Snake, it's more that he's having physical symptoms because the nanomachines counteract his aging. But I think that theme of the nanomachines, like forestalling PTSD, is incredibly interesting. And again, this is something they did not a lot with. It's only like 1 or 2 scenes in Metal Gear Rising, but I thought
I love that scene you're talking. I know the one you're talking about.
So good.
At the moment, this is our new revelation that Naomi is in the service of Liquid, and we presumably are going to have to track her down. So that's the end of the first chapter, right, of Liquid's son.
Yes,
we black out because of the pain of the.
But there's also we see Naomi right in front of us, and she gives us a syringe. It isn't she isn't like, here's fentanyl to kill yourself with. It's another nanomachine thing, and she's like, I'm gonna be in blah blah. I'm gonna be in South America.
Yeah,
which is a small continent, so you should be able to find me. So that is a lead-in for Act 2. Act 2 is all about finding Naomi in South America, which they really narrowed it down. So during we get another Nomad briefing section. Every briefing section takes place on the Nomad, obviously. Almost all of them are Hal and Snake talking about what they've got to do for this act. Everything is structured into acts. And in this one, there's a lot implied about Otacon and Naomi's relationship. Snake seems to be very wary of her, which I think is unfair. But yeah, that's sort of what's funny about this is that for they're talking about how they have to go to South America to find Naomi, but there's this implied thing of Otacon being like, oh well, I always like her. She's kind of smart, and it's like she gave your friend like deep state AIDS.
Yes,
like for all you know, that could be why he's aging so fast. It isn't, but for what they know at this point in the plot,
yeah,
it could be. But anyhow. South America is a
land of contrasts.
It's a really interesting country, but not a very good level.
Snake, what we call peace, is an equilibrium kept in check by the war economy. Destroying the system means wiping out the information society, the end of modern civilization. Like it or not, we may have no choice but to protract the system.
So South America, I'd say 80% of the gameplay here is more combat staking. You start out in a village where you see that Laughing Octopus is active in the region. She is using her face camo while strangling people with her Solidus arms to look like Solid Snake. And then she leaves one survivor among the rebels and says, remember the man who did this to you, Old Snake. This never comes up.
Nope.
This could have been so interesting that you could have to prove to the rebels. There could have been some gameplay element or say at least something in the story. But no, after she did this, when the rebels see you, they're like, hey, what's up?
Yes.
Whatever.
And of course, it wouldn't be the big finale reunion game if we didn't bring back good old Vamp, who is working with Liquid for some reason.
Yeah, didn't he betray? Like he was dating Fortune. And Ocelot. What the fuck ever? Fuck Vamp.
I've been saying. Vamp's here. Again, love Phil Lamar. He does a great job with the vocal performance, but we don't know anything more about Vamp at this point, or at least I don't find anything more interesting than I did in the first appearance. He's there with Laughing Octopus. He says, quit fooling around with those guys. Let's get a move on. As for the level leading up to her boss fight, I agree with you. It's like Snake Eater Light. If you want to go off the beaten path a couple times, there's some cute little things you can do, but the levels feel very linear and generic. And Snake Eater is a linear game in its own way, but not this much.
There are a few conventional-ish sneaking sections in this first part of this chapter, but for the most part, it's just, you start out, there are a bunch of rebels being lined up to be shot, and you can trank or kill the PMCs that are about to execute them. And if you do save these guys, they end up opening a door for you, you get an AN-94, which I don't know why the fuck you would ever use that in this game. But it will make that initial village level a little more easy if you do take that opportunity to drink those guys. Though I played it both ways. I just let them die. Mm-hmm. And I actually found the very small village itself the best sneaking level in that entire chapter. And I think the combat sneaking in this chapter is the worst. You can get spotted for such stupid reasons. The concept of an alert in it is so fucking dumb. So you're in the middle of a firefight, and you can even be wearing the costume of the rebel. Yeah. You pick up the costume for the rebel if you save them. That's the other thing that's in that room they open up. I forgot. But you can wear that costume, and they already like you because you've tranked their enemies in front of you. But if you're progressing through the level while the rebels are fighting the PMCs, and the PMCs see you, they go, an enemy, attack! And all the PMCs in the area focus fire on you.
Yep.
And it's so are we supposed to think they don't know who Snake is, but they're like, fuck this particular rebel especially. Yep. I will give the lives of all of my men to kill this one guy. You're also treated to another Drebin scene. Yep. Right at this power plant. He shows up in his APC and behaves repulsively, and you're like, okay, thanks.
He explains the B&B unit. He says how they're actually really cute ladies underneath their monstrous exoskeletons. And he also, it's hinted that he might be involved with the Patriots, but he denies being involved with the Patriots. It's another Drebin scene, and then he drives off. We scout ahead a little bit more, and long story short, end up finding Naomi at this, I don't know, greenhouse or some kind of compound here in the heart of South America. Now, this is the scene where essentially Snake gets to ask Naomi, hey, Doc, I'm here to rescue you, but also while we're alone for a moment, can you please explain to me why I'm aging so rapidly and possibly dying? And I spoke a little bit in the MGS2 episode about hats on top of hats on top of hats. We get about 5. It's like a 5-part explanation.
Yeah.
Naomi goes, well, first of all, you have Fox dye still from the first game. Okay, we knew that. The Fox dye must be degenerating our body slowly, right? And she goes, no, it's actually not that. It has nothing to do with the Fox dye. Oh, okay. Actually, Snake, the reason you're aging this fast is because you're a clone. You were designed to age rapidly as a clone. She says you would live out your peak years as a soldier, and then before anyone could get a hold of your DNA in your older, more decrepit years, you're dead. Bam. They can't use you. So Snake goes, got it. I still have Fox dye, but that's not why I'm old. I'm old because I'm a clone. How much time do I have? And she goes, 6 months. And he goes, wow, okay, 6 months to live. And she goes, no, I'm talking about the third part of this explanation, which is that your old Fox dye is mutating inside of you as a virus due to your body aging rapidly and doing a bunch of genetic discombobulation. And that's a big problem, Snake, because it means that the fox dye, which was originally, if people recall here, a virus that only targets certain individuals, is mutating into just a generalized virus that could kill large swaths of the population, maybe even everybody on the planet. And Snake is in essence a ticking time bomb before, I don't know, like some kind of plant releasing its gases. He will just die and release the most deadly toxin on Earth out into the world. He's a walking bioweapon in 6 months. Although she then says 3 months.
Yeah.
A second ago she said 6 months. And we go, oh wow, okay, got it. But then she says, someone also gave you new fox dye. Did you get injected with anything lately? Because someone gave you a new version of fox dye that's in your system.
No, Drebin, I forgive you because you're such a great character.
Then Naomi injects herself with a syringe for some reason that seems unclear until frogs burst in and she is shepherded away from us. So we failed in our mission to recover her.
One thing that I like about this scene is Naomi wants to give Snake like a physical, and Snake doesn't want to do it, and she's just like, no, take off your clothes. And he's like, okay, fine. And the moment that he gets naked, she just looks at his body and then bursts into tears. And I thought, like, you're a doctor. like Snake has to go, okay, come on.
Yeah. I got it.
He's actually like in really good shape for a guy who's this diseased. And again, better versions of the explanation of Snake's aging, I thought, would be if it was, what it actually kind of is like for things that we actually have cloned in real life. Not we as in the host of this program, but humanity. If it was just like we couldn't figure out how to not make it, we fucked it up.
Yeah.
Clones are fucked up. We're sorry.
Right. It's just it's an error in the engineering or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't think about it. And it would be a good stand-in for this IP that that Kojima doesn't want to keep doing.
Sure.
I didn't plan on it going on this long and I didn't think about this. I'm sorry.
So then frogs run in and capture her, and then the big boss of this, the boss of this section, which is Laughing Octopus. My thoughts on this are very simple and quick. I like the fight. It's a cool, spooky horror game type of fight. You're on edge. You're wondering where she's going to pop out because she's camouflaged. She disguises herself. And throws weird curveballs at you where you think Otacon is around the corner as the Mach 2, but then you can codec call him and he's like, I haven't called you. I'm not there. At one point, she pretends to be a dead person in the room. My favorite is when they have a medical skeleton model, and at one point you notice that there's two of them where there was originally one, and she's one of them. I think that's really fun and clever. So it's just a fun fight, and you just got to take chunks out of her, and mainly don't get hit by her when she rolls around.
Yeah, that one
that's a wallop.
Destroys your health bar. For me, the Guard Rush segment, everything after Naomi is when I feel the game starts picking up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you finally get a Guard Rush segment where obviously it's nowhere near as good as Ocelot Unit and MGS3, but it's sort of like a scaled down version of that with more deadly opponents. You are actually able to do this with no alerts. If you want to play it that way, you actually have an option besides just like gunning them down, which I found very, very enjoyable and charitable of them. And yeah, I completely agree about the Laughing Octopus fight. The prop hunt aspect is so fun.
Yeah.
There's this one prop hunty thing she does where if you look at the MRI machine, you see the tubes normally without your solid eye on, and you just think, oh, those are like medicine tubes or whatever, whatever the fuck makes an MRI work. But if you turn on your night vision, you see that they're glowing and emitting radiation, and you can, just blow it away with a shotgun. She hides on the ceiling and there's a little outdoor backyard area that she hides into. My first playthrough, I wanted to get the achievement where you kill the beast form, where you beat the beast form non-lethally, which takes a lot of time and can be very difficult if you don't have like a stun shotgun, especially. So I've played it that way. I've played it with like overpowered weapons like the Barrett 50 cal. I actually think all the boss fights are like pretty good. I don't think any of them are like shitty, but I would say this is one of the better ones.
So yeah, then this is going to happen every single time we beat one of them. They writhe around on the floor in their skin-tight suits for about 5 minutes, and then they will sort of creepily, in a trance, stagger toward you. And I never even realized this when I first played it because I just assumed it would be a kill if they got me. But if you let them get you, you are transported to a universe of all white in which they sing pop music and dance in front of you. A scene and an experience that I hasten to add, Kojima wanted them to be fully nude for in the original version of the game. And the entire staff said, we're not doing that.
I love that he just every step of the way is like, oh, okay, you want me to make this fucking game? I'll show you.
Yeah, so and that happens with all of them, so we won't bring it up every time it happens. But then you kill Laughing Octopus. She actually turns out to not feel that everything is funny. Then you get a call from Drebin. And this happens as well every time you kill a B&B unit. And here's where I think we can just kind of make our remarks about the B&B unit in full now, because this is the model. After every fight you have with them, you don't know anything about them. Like I said, Laughing Octopus and her taunting of those rebels is like the most flavor you get out of any of them, other than they're deadly and that they're hot underneath their suits. And after every single one of them, post-mortem, you are told by Drebin in a very generic war is hell style tale that they were in a conflict like a civil war or an ethnic cleansing campaign that when they were innocent young women made them go insane.
Well, it's not just that they were in a war. The things that all of the B&B unit characters go through are, I'm not going to say that they're funny, but they're over the top. So for Laughing Octopus, she lived in some far off town in like Norway, and there was some like Iron Islander type people who just like hated her part of her small town, and they all belonged to a cult, and one day like went to her town and like massacred everyone, and then like made her as a child like massacre her family, and then said, you have to laugh while you do. It's
not even that she started to laugh out of madness. They tell her, and by the way, you have to laugh while you're doing this because you're going to be the Laughing Octopus.
Yeah. It's just like, that is the other thing about them being like deadly warriors. It's like, I would assume anyone would be if you gave them like suits that could do optical camo and like jump through ceilings, or like a special like sniper suit.
Anyone criticizing it, I can't really argue with it. I find it to just be boring most of all.
Yeah.
It's boring to sit through, and then Drebin's like, yeah, anyway, good job, and hangs up.
That's what's so fucking weird about it. It's so discordant because in the first place, this shitty comic relief character is like, so you know that weird writhing around woman you just killed? Well, she had to skin her mom and dad and then wear their skin like a suit. And then she had to put her siblings on a spit roast. And then she had to eat them with the chief of the village. And then they made her watch every single episode of Comic View. And Snake's like, well, that's really sad, but that doesn't excuse killing people for no reason. And Drebin's like, yeah, you're probably right. Anyway, good job killing that crazy bitch.
Yep.
It's like, are we supposed to think about this or not?
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to say something about like what I think they're trying to allude to, the idea of like both the way that women and girls are treated in war and the way that like trauma is commoditized. there was a way to do that, but like none of the good or interesting or even memorable ways to do that involve Drebin. They just don't like. I don't. Is Drebin like? I don't agree with Andrea Dworkin on everything, but some conflicts make me think otherwise. Like, no, what is he going to say that is like actually going to make you think about like the gravity of the situation? And you can't think about the gravity of the situation because the things that happen to these women are it's just so fucking ridiculous.
And as she bathed in their blood, it gradually turned from deep red to jet black. To her, it looked like the ink of an octopus. The experience scarred her deep. Ever since then, she hasn't stopped laughing. Only, that ain't really laughter.
Why are you telling me this?
So that's the laughing octopus boss fight. And then there is the remainder of chapter 2 is we have to track Naomi, who has been absconded with by the frogs.
This is terrible.
This part is not that good. But we should mention we get a call from Raiden during this section. And there's no mystery. We're doing the cyborg ninja thing again. He's Mr. X. But this time, everyone knows it's Raiden. And Snake's just like, what about Rose? And he's like, done with her. We're starting to put it together that his life has gone terribly wrong, but he seems to be in our corner, as Gray Fox once was and as Olga once was. So we know Raiden's coming up as well. And that's, and I mean, do you have anything to say about the tracking section?
I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I don't think it's bad to have sections that rely on a singular gadget at all. I think the conceit of this, the central conceit is not any worse than any number of like beloved gameplay sequences from any of the previous 3 entries. I mean, I also think that the fact that the frogs can hear the solid eye is, I think that's cool. I think it's a cool balancing act to a gadget that could otherwise be very overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is our only segment in South America that is not combat sneaking. But instead of getting people who are on patrol and might like catch you out organically, the stupid fucking frogs just kneel against trees like idiots. And you can see them from like 500 feet away and just like blow their helmet off and trank them or just kill them. And they never present a significant obstacle unless you're just sprinting along the tracks and you go, oh, what, enemies? The central problem of so many of the actual stealth segments of this game, the thing that people love about these games is if you're struggling, they will give you the answer, but they want you to figure it out. And they what's more is they seem like they thought highly enough of the player that they would give them a chance to do so. With this, there is nothing to figure out. Besides, like, I guess just don't sprint in a stealth game. You know, this game, I still overall like it, despite what we've said for the past few hours.
We're on a curve here, you know.
Yeah. And where they actually released really good games after this that fundamentally just refused to engage with the central mechanics that made all the previous entries special. Like, have you noticed it? Like, you never figure anything out as a player in this game at all. Like, there's no, there's never a sense of like, oh, that was one way to like traverse that level, or oh my god, oh, when I do this, like guards are acting this way.
Well, there could not be a better way to underline that than the next section, which is the on rails shooting section, right? Where you find Naomi, she's being, once again, a damsel in distress. She's being scooped up by Vamp and put in a plane or helicopter of some kind. I don't remember how this happens, but we get her back and shoot Vamp in the head, which we know only temporarily holds him back. And then we, with Drebin, jump in his armored car and make a break for to rendezvous with Otacon or something, right? In the
Otacon and Jack
and Raiden will be there. Yeah, so it's an on rails shoot 'em up section. There's geckos chasing us on the armored car. There's guys, although the guys don't really matter. We have to blast through some stuff. Honestly, I mean, unless you have anything to say, like, I just find this to be a pale imitation of the Snake Eater finale. Plopped right in the middle of this act. We have reached our destination. Naomi's in one piece. We're in one piece. And we see the, for many, triumphant return of Jack, of Raiden. And he's now super cool with cyborg armor. We don't fully know why he's been chopped up into a cyborg by this point, but it's definitely a new look for him. And he goes on to have a really neat looking fight with Vamp.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's great choreography. I love when he kind of like dances on top of Vamp's chest with his claw feet in place and just kind of cuts him up that way. I do think that Raiden, we can talk about Raiden now or later, depending on what you want to do, but I do think that Raiden's story feels far too tacked on in this game, but everything he does looks great and endears you to him.
I mean, I don't find it any more tacked on than anything. Like, to me, I mean, we can talk about it later, but I think, okay, the basic reason for why he's a cyborg now, I don't know. I mean, it's like a lot of things in this game that they're just very deliberately doing a callback to a character that he's supposed to be like, kind of a successor to. But it at least it connects with something that was part of his character arc in the previous game we saw him in, and it is like we'll talk about how weird it is that this idea of like we captured our enemy. Let's do experiments on him to see how strong we can make him. Like I hate that trope in any type of fiction. But like again, so many characters in this game that are from both 1 and 2 that show up and have like new character beats, they're just haphazardly tacked onto them. And with Raiden, at least it connects to something. I like that it connects to basically his reason to fight in the last like 5th of MGS2.
We watch Raiden fight more. He looks awesome. He is bested by Vamp. He's cut up by Vamp. And we get him into the helicopter and set off. He informs us that we need to go to Europe. And that concludes Chapter 2, Solid Sun. Moving on to Third Sun. Third Sun begins with us using the face octo camo that we got from Laughing Octopus to disguise ourselves as a younger version of Snake.
Because Snake is wanted wanted by all the PMCs now. And if I was wanted and I had a face camo that could make me look like anything, I would be tempted to look like the hottest version of myself, but I think out of self-preservation, I would do someone else.
Yeah. Indeed, when you play this section, the best way to play it is I think with Laughing Octopus's face, because the guards think you're cute and they don't jump you.
Oh, but I used Otacon's and I just never got bothered.
You can also use Otacon. But he sits down with Meryl for a second. They have a little catch up. We kind of referenced this before. She's kind of playing the role of you're not cut out for this anymore. Let the professionals do it.
Sorry. Before that, on the briefing in the Nomad, Raiden tells you that you have to go see the Paradise Lost Army in Eastern Europe because they helped him out after the thing that happened to him is when he rescued Sonny, the Patriots captured him and like experimented on him to turn him into a cyborg.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But his life was saved when he escaped by Dr. Madnar. So fun callback to Metal Gear 2.
Yep.
But also on the plane, we get an incredibly arbitrary, like Love Actually style scene with fucking Naomi and Hal. And it's one of those scenes where like classic scene for this series where the female character is like, Hal, your penis looks remarkable in those pants. Could you show it to me sometime? And the male character goes, oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Is my penis out?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I think she likes you.
That's about the long and short of it. She also informs us. I don't want to get into the weeds about this stuff because I find it just. I don't think the game needed to explicate it that much, let alone us. But the Patriots use DNA sequences as keys, essentially, and the key to access the Sons of the Patriot system is Big Boss's not only DNA but biometric data, right?
Yeah, similar to how the nukes work with James Johnson.
And everyone goes, well, that can't work because Big Boss is dead. And Naomi goes, well, actually, he's essentially in a in a century-long coma because the Patriots do stuff like that. And so we got to link up with this resistance group who have gone after Big Boss's body and who have it. Raiden got it for them. He rescued Sonny. He got Big Boss's body. No good deed goes unpunished for Raiden because he's in bad shape at the moment. But they're going to go fix him up with Dr. Madnar. Listeners who didn't play the MSX games, while I still recommend you play at least Metal Gear 2, that's just a scientist from Metal Gear 2, who actually the last time you ever saw him tried to kill you and attack you, and it's presumed you killed him, but we'll leave that aside. He's helping us now. While they're doing that, we are going to go undercover in Prague, and then we are going to tail a member of this resistance organization in what is a stalking/escort mission. You want to follow this member of the resistance through the kind of smoky streets of this Eastern European country that is on curfew, so there's just guards in the streets. You want to follow this guy, not let him know you're following him, but also clear the way for him to make it to his hideout that you're sneaking behind him to find.
At one point, he for no reason, just goes up to some guards and goes, fuck you, and like throws a cherry bomb. I'm not kidding. He really does.
Yeah.
I thought this section could be at least very interesting because this is the best level that we've seen in the game so far. I at least think it's more interesting than like a COD 2 multiplayer level or a Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer level. And a city setting could be enormously interesting. And you can, we already know that they can put way more characters on screen at any given time than they were capable of doing in any of the previous titles. But you are contesting with at most like 3 guards at a time.
Yep.
It's incredibly easy to just not engage with them at all. They don't present really that significant of an obstacle. And, I mean, tailing missions just suck. Like, no one likes them. Yep. I guess that wasn't conventional wisdom in 2008, but I also don't think there were a lot of people who were like, oh boy, you know what, I love tailing missions. Why doesn't this series have them? But you follow him into a church, and there's a pretty well choreographed scene of Snake kicking the shit out of these, isn't it weird? Paradise Lost Army, PLA?
Yeah. Because you're in a church, as you say, and Eva is about to, we're about to meet Cougar Eva. And
yeah, she's like 97 and she looks fucking hot.
Yeah, she looks great. She's voiced by legendary Lee Merriweather, who played Catwoman.
Great voice performance by her.
Yeah, we'll get to this in a second, but she gives you a lot of plot and a lot of backdrop. And it's all about the deification and mythology that was created around Big Boss. This is kind of, in a sense, the centerpiece of this game's lore creation. We learn from Eva that once upon a time, there was the philosophers. Okay, we know that. They were succeeded by by their American branch, which was called the Patriots. The Patriots, guess what? It was all of your friends from the last game. it was paramedic. She became the Mengele, the evil doctor who would do horrible medical experiments on people via either cloning or cybernetics or whatever. Sigint would go on to found important government entities. Obviously, by the time we meet him in MGS1, we now realize he was the DARPA chief. Major Zero, our commanding officer from the last game, in his reverence for the boss, he decided to set out to create an influence network and a kind of shadow government, really, that would create a united world, which is what the boss wanted so very badly. And he obviously feels some level of not only admiration for the boss, but also guilt in playing a part in her death. And Ocelot's there too. The problem is that once Big Boss joined up with these guys, they had a big falling out because, as Eva lets us know, Big Boss and Zero had differing interpretations of the boss's will. Big Boss came down on the utopia for soldiers side. Zero came down on the unite the world through whatever means necessary side. Though they worked together for a period, eventually Zero was growing worried that Big Boss would desert him, and so he cloned him, giving us Liquid and Solid. Eva was the surrogate mother of those two, and unfortunately tells Solid Snake that, as she puts it, your father never wanted you. And then she fills in a lot of stuff like, so the Outer Heaven uprisings and the Zanzibar Land uprising, which are the events of the MSX games, those were not only the stories we thought they were rebellions against the Patriots, against Zero by Big Boss.
After Big Boss left, Zero really lost control. What Zero wanted was an orderly world, one governed by rules. His fortune grew through countless wars, and his words influenced decision-making all the way up to the Oval Office. As the world saw the rise of digital technology, IT, the internet, and genetics, the Patriots' power grew immense. Their roots spread and took hold throughout the globe. In time, they began to dictate the fate of entire nations from the shadows. And before we knew it, the Patriots, the proud police of the world, started bringing an entire planet under their control.
That pretty much brings us up to date, where now Ocelot, for some reason that is still rather unclear, has had the personality of Liquid grafted onto him. Big Boss is being kept secret by Eva and her organization, and the Patriots are still really evil. Again, I'll just throw in why Liquid is tangibly worse than the Patriots after all this shit talk on the Patriots and how world historically evil they are. I don't really know, but that's the big speech she gives us.
Yeah, if you were do like the libs in this universe, are they like, oh, the Patriots are so bad? Wait until Liquid wins.
Yeah, I think
could have had Zero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. She's the resistance to the Patriots organization, but also Liquid now. I guess she's.
Yeah, they never again first draft symptom.
I mean, there's a lot of retconning going on here.
Yeah,
they do a pretty good job. Hats off to what they try to smooth over in that one cutscene, but they are mishmashing so many conflicting canonicities together in that scene, which I think is supposed to be the sort of reset for this series. All kinds of stuff about the MSX games. Why did Big Boss choose Solid Snake, knowing he was his own clone, to oppose him in the original Metal Gears? How he possibly could have returned to lead Foxhound after doing stuff he does in subsequent games after this is never even attempted to be addressed. And as for Liquid versus the Patriots, Eva seems, despite her whole mission being to stop the Patriots, she seems now instead focused on stopping Liquid, which will make sense at the end of the story, but isn't very good writing because we're not given a reason why she's so concerned about Liquid versus the Patriots. At this moment, Liquid is trying to stop the Patriots just as much as she is.
Yeah.
Which is why I think in a couple scenes from now, they change Liquid's motivation to be, well, I'm just going to do the Patriots, but I'll be in charge. And so then it just kind of reverts us back to Zero, if you will, so that everyone's opposed to the same thing again. It's obviously a huge mess, but I appreciate the Zero Big Boss Cold War storyline. We've said it before, there are many moments in this series where if you want to enjoy the good stuff, you just got to hand wave some stuff away. This is one of those moments, especially if you want to enjoy the subsequent games in the series that come after this game.
So I think like the core dynamic of the initial formation of the Patriots, I almost think it's like it would have also been interesting to just never fold it and then never really explain it and just leave it implied. But I think if you are going to explain this, I really don't mind it.
I don't mind it either.
And I do like I like the idea of, for Big Boss's character as we see him, especially in the next game, this idea that he becomes deified by others, sort of in this way that we saw with Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 2. But unlike Snake, he starts to believe his own deification, which ends up being an incredibly interesting character beat in the next game and leads to some very startling implications in the games after that. I like all the stuff that they do with it after this game, is basically how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, there's no time to like, because this is supposed to be Solid Snake's game and they're putting all this.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, for the purposes of this game, I think like fine, whatever. There have been far worse cutscenes that we've seen in this by this point of the game.
Yes.
I don't mind this. I'm happy to hear Lee Merriweather. And I like her character in this game, and I like what they do with her. I think they succeed with her way more than they do with like Naomi or Liquid Ocelot or Drebin, for that matter.
I also don't mind it. Like I'm exactly of the same mindset as you, where if they had never explained the Patriots, I think there would have been a great mystique to that. But I don't mind that video we've referenced a couple of times, MGS4 is a mistake. He really rolls his eyes at the whole reveal that it's people we know from the games, but it's Metal Gear. This isn't.
Yeah, like who else was it going to be?
Yeah, like either don't reveal any of it at all, or if it is going to be people we know, make it interesting. And I think that what we already have discussed on this series is it's neat that it's people who were so idealistic. I like that as a reveal. It's actually quite dark, and I think it says something sort of interesting. The fact that there's only 5 important people in the world. Like, I'm not going to get mad at that in a Metal Gear game. Remember, it was the first time we ever had Tim Heidecker on Chapo. He was making fun of Homeland. And he was like, the thing with that show is there's 5 important people in the world and they all know each other and they all have each other's phone number. And it's like in Homeland, that's kind of stupid because it's trying to be this grounded, gritty show about how the intelligence community works. But in Metal Gear Solid, I have no problem with that. There's cyborg ninjas in these games.
Yeah, it's the great thing about video games, like that you kind of owed entirely to the interactive nature. You have to allow for a certain level of both retconning and like absurdity.
I agree. And so Eva's group has the body of Big Boss that they stole from the Patriots. It's in a big plastic bag and he's in a coma. They're trying to keep it secret so that I guess they just got it from the Patriots and now they have to keep it secret so Liquid doesn't get it. Who cares? But unfortunately, then we have to jet off because Liquid's found us and he's sending his goons and his geckos after us.
Unmanned scouts.
They've found us. We're moving out.
Snake, the PMCs are converging on your location. Damn it! They're sending in Gecko! They'll be on you in less than 5 minutes!
Are they ready?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll escape through the canal route using the real van. Get it ready. Hurry.
Yes, ma'am.
After a quick dig at first-person shooters, Eva tells us to hold on to her as she gets on her bike once again, and we have a better on-rails shooting segment.
I enjoyed this segment. I think it's pretty dependent on how many guns you've acquired at this point, because the gun they default you to, which is actually it's the Scorpion that you can pick up as Rykov in Metal Gear Solid 3. That gun really sucks shit.
Yeah.
But there's some way more fun, way more interesting guns. If you get the Patriot, it's incredibly fun. Yeah, yeah. I love shooting down Raging Raven's drones because Ava will, similar to the chase scene from 3, will compliment you or scold you, depending on how many you miss and how many you hit. Here's a very weird gameplay quirk. If you're going for no kill run, you can kill people on this chase, but only if you kill them by blowing up barrels next to them.
Yep.
For some reason, the PMC was like, hey, we're trying to capture this woman who's fighting against us. Bring out the barrels that kill us.
Let's get those barrels in the streets.
Move! Sir, are you sure those barrels... It takes 1 bullet for those barrels to kill like 7 of us. I said bring the barrels that kill us.
That's the same criteria for 3. You can kill guys in 3 if you explode a barrel next to them. It doesn't count.
You think you're in the clear. Raging Raven hits Ava's motorcycle with a grenade. You guys kind of come to in this church. Ava is she gets pierced in the same spot she did right before the worst part of 3, the escort mission.
Yeah.
And then the Raging Raven boss fight. Raging Raven is very funny to me because like everyone else is just like from the first moment you see them, they are just insane and traumatized beyond measure. But Raging Raven, my first impression of her is she's just like she's like, I'm fucking pissed.
She's pissed off at you. I will say there kind of is an explanation later on, however silly and over the top, as to why all these women are so obsessed with Snake.
Yeah.
I texted you during this fight because I was getting really fatigued by it. You have to have the right gun for this fight for it not to be really annoying. It's my least favorite of the 4 fights, I would say.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I mean, there is a way you can end it quickly if you take down a lot of her drones that are flying outside. The first time I did this, I was doing the non-lethal for both phases run, but I luckily had the Mosin Nagant, and that kind of sped things along. So to be able to accurately read her pattern, you do have to climb up several levels. But even then, traversing that incredibly narrow upper portion of this level it's sort of clunky because Snake doesn't run that fast. And you can only really get a good sense of her pattern if you play this fight for like 15 minutes, which there are very few boss fights that would be fun for 15 minutes. It's just... with all the other ones, there's a fun central gimmick, or not gimmick, or gameplay loop, whether it is sniping or the prop hunt aspect, you know, whatever. With this, it's just like, okay, remember when she's mad enough to shoot missiles. Remember when she's normal mad, she does grenades. Just very tedious if you fail the DPS check.
After dispatching with Raging Raven, we check back in with Eva, who's not doing so hot. She's fallen off her bike, as we mentioned. But she says, we have to get to the real van containing Big Boss's body, because we sent out a bunch of decoys before they get to it, before Liquid gets to it. Unfortunately, we turn a corner and Liquid's smoking a stogie. He's already gotten the body. I don't know exactly how he needs to use the biometric data and DNA, but he's done that. And this is where he switches over for, I'm sorry, a not very well communicated reason, from saying, I want to blow this all up, to I'm fated to control all of this.
Liquid, you're planning to recreate the Patriots. Snake, we were created by the Patriots. We're not men. We're shadows in the shape of men. I won't fight my fate any longer. I'll kill Zero and Big Boss and become a Patriot myself.
And then we get a rather famous or iconic moment from this game, according to some, where Liquid lets her rip. He's got control of the Patriots system of their weapons, so he can disable his enemy's weapons, and he can, it's doing a little bit of a poetic license here. He can discharge any weapon he wants at will.
Yeah, and I've seen people who are defenders in this game say this scene's great because it shows the stakes at hand if Liquid gets control. And it's like, we've already seen him do that before.
Yep.
Like it's okay. It's cool how he goes bang and like everyone starts like shitting themselves and vomiting.
Yeah.
But they never sufficiently explain A, like why it would be so much worse, or B, like from the moment we see him, he could basically do this.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll say, talk about worse or better. The scene immediately after this, we are told there's a global ceasefire, the first in history. And I'm like, is this bad? It's so confused about what it wants as you say, the stakes to be here. And obviously the impression is not that Liquid wants that ceasefire to persist, but it's still weird how everyone's bummed out about it. Yeah, look, I mean, go look up the scene. I mean, hopefully you're playing the games with us, but like, go look up the scene. It's definitely over the top. I find even for me, it drags on a little much. But then everyone's recovering from it. Oh, and then he tells Vamp to throw what we think. I'm spoiling it by saying this, but what we think is Big Boss's body into a fiery ship that exploded.
Ava jumps after it.
She jumps after it and is attempting to self-immolate in her despair over the body being burned, and until Solid Snake jumps in and rescues her, sustaining a lot of damage himself. She still dies though. And it makes no sense because, hopefully you've played the game by now. You know that is not Big Boss's body. You know that she knows that is not Big Boss's body. It's not even the body of one of her clone sons. It's the body of Solidus, the one snake she has nothing to do with. And I just find the idea that she's trying to sell it to Liquid by lighting herself on fire and convincing everyone that was supposed to be Big Boss. I mean, you can sacrifice her, but that's the way you're going to write it. It's really stupid. And frankly, I think it's a very disappointing way to close out Eva's character.
This is the thing I hate about like that central reveal. There are parts of it I like. I like that it contributes to this idea that like on a personal level, Big Boss is kind of a bastard. And we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual plan is so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It like at any point did either of them go, like no one went like, hey, I think there's like a less stupid way to do this that doesn't kill everyone involved.
And this is more of a nitpick, but during the plan when it's revealed and they're doing another like Shinkawa collage thing, which are cool.
Yeah.
They're like, Solidus, he was my perfect double. And then it fades from Solidus's face to Big Boss's and the eye patches are on the wrong side. That's what I made reference to in our Metal Gear Solid 2 episode. I said his eye, they took out the wrong eye. And I just love the Patriots were just not paying attention to that.
The Patriots AI is like the Google AI that's like, how do you defrost ice cream? Step 1, drink an entire jug of bleach.
So, I mean...
Step 2, grab a police officer's gun.
that's just, I mean, that's something that like I actually could forgive because it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
They tried. But this Eva thing is just a little bit too far for me. I'm like, come on. Like, it's such a great character and to have her go out for such a dumb reason. So I agree with you. Like, I don't mind the whole switcheroo that gets revealed in a little bit, but there's elements that they just didn't think it through.
I do think that it is sort of cheating to like kill both of them off because it saves the writers from having to portray how these characters would interact with Big Boss after all is said and done. I think that's kind of a lazy move, but I also think there is a way to do it where they do die because that is an important character beat, an important separation between Big Boss and Solid Snake. Big Boss is brave and valorous, but he's kind of a bastard because he believes his own hype. He does believe that he is a god. And when people die in his service, he's like, well, that's what they signed up for. Solid Snake does everything in his power to jump in front of the gun for everyone.
Including Eva here.
Yeah. It's so core to his character. So I think you could have like kept that conclusion, even though I do think it is sort of like it excuses the writer from a potentially difficult task. But the plan would have to be way less stupid than that. Like, it's just...
I mean, we're being pretty tough on this game in this episode, but we warned you. It is representative of just what's not so great about this game. There are things, and we're about to get to the better parts of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Parts that I wish were the majority of the game, because they can be really fun and really exhilarating. But this stuff is like the worst aspect of the game. A story not very well written, meant to nevertheless unite every single thread of the series, threads that don't really need to be united, through the meaningless death of a beloved character that doesn't make sense in the plot it's trying to convey.
And it's like, okay, if they needed to do that to fool the Patriots, I mean, as you said, the Patriots didn't even know the right eye. I don't even know how the Patriots are a threat. They seem really fucking stupid. It seems like I could put a magnet on them and be like, hey, I'm the president now. We have healthcare now.
Well, in that sense, it is kind of prophetic, because AI, as we're living through it now, is obviously not cracked up to be what its salesmen suggest.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, if you can scramble GW by asking it, how can two doctors at a party show a photo and say that's our son?
I'm not home right now. Please leave a message after the beep.
Beep.
Liquid speeds off. This is the low point. Everyone's bummed out. Seems like all is lost.
Snake, another Nordberg thing happens to Snake. He got burned too while trying to rescue Ava. And he is another horrifying disfigurement. Like, half of his face is just beef jerky now.
He's Phantom of the Opera.
Also, Naomi.
She betrayed us again?
Yeah. She's like, hey, it's my boyfriend, the guy who murders women.
This is his main thing.
What is the point of whatever?
Yeah, Vamp shouldn't be in this game. I just want to get that out. Okay, this is what happens, is that they're back on the Nomad and they're like, oof, I think we're cooked, boys. But then Otacon says, aha, I sent the Mach 2 to jump onto Liquid's little boat, and I heard their whole plan, him and Naomi and Vamp, which is to get a nuke that the Patriots don't control, because they still control nukes. And one great option for him would be the railgun that is attached to Metal Gear Rex on Shadow Moses. And what he will do with that is fire it into space to hit the JD AI, which is a floating satellite. And that will knock the Patriots out for good. And this is the MacGuffin for the rest of the game. This is like, that's what he's going to do. We need to stop that from happening. And the first part of that is heading over to Shadow Moses to prevent him from getting the railgun.
Yeah. He wants the railgun on Rex, and I will give them credit for this. They explained this with Rex's railgun, I think in the first game, that it's supposedly stealth because it's not coming out of a silo, and the booster phase of the nuke is just, being accelerated by this electromagnetic rail. So it doesn't, I guess it doesn't turn its engines on until way later, which no one needs to point out to me that wouldn't work, and it would only boost it 300 feet. But whatever, who gives a fuck?
We go back to Shadow Moses, and I'll tell you what, I had a huge smile on my face the first time I played it. We're like, okay, we got to go do that, and it fades to black or whatever, and then it just fades up. There's no table setting. You're just staring at Snake next to the helipad of MGS1, and you are playing the first couple minutes of MGS1, and once you infiltrate the Shadow Moses complex in MGS1 here, Snake wakes up. He's been having a dream, which he says he's had several times, of that mission. So just before you return to Shadow Moses, and we see it in its PS3 glory, he's trying to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up before he sends you into this big remember when.
I really like kind of this entire chapter, because I feel like they succeed thematically in a way that they just were not in everything before this. One of the things that we loved about Snake Eater is how it captures this feeling of sort of like youth and idealism, the feeling of all of these characters before they are tarnished by the reality of working for security services or the nascent weird NWO deep state thing that Zero was doing or whatever. And again, you know, that it says a very scary thing about how these sort of villains of our world start out. This entire Shadow Moses segment, it really captures the feeling of like remembering the good times, or if not the good times, remembering a more active or vibrant part of your life.
Overhead view, just like old times. Now you're talking.
I like that it's totally empty except for like geckos and dwarf geckos, and that you walk around hearing these echoes, because it is fan service and it is fun, but it's also supposed to be like pretty fucking depressing.
It is.
It feels like going to your old high school after like someone in your class like just killed themselves.
This is the room where we first met, huh?
Yep.
It's not conjuring up any unpleasant memories, is it?
Just like in terms of pure gameplay, I think the dwarf geckos can be a little bit annoying, but I like the big geckos as sort of like a level obstacle. I think they're fun to fight if you choose to fight them that way. For me, probably my favorite boss fight in this entire game was also on this level.
The first time I ever played it, I was worse at these games, and certain ideas didn't occur to me, and I fought all the little geckos whenever they were there, and it made me actually go back on my warm feelings for this section. But I, of course, realized upon replaying it that although they only give you two, the chaff grenades are your friend. Pick your section, but it makes it a lot easier. Just use a chaff grenade. But you can't buy them from Drebin. You can only pick them up.
Drebin is so fucking useless.
At the very least, he could have had some chaff grenades ready for me.
It's like, okay, you know I'm on a stealth mission. Here's 17 unsilenced pistols and assault rifles. Here's a fake bazooka that shoots out a flag that says, "I'm gay and I'm here. Raise the alert, please." Hey, do you have those grenades that just like they cost like $17 to make and they're incredibly useful for this one level? No. But I have a water balloon. Okay, thanks, man.
Drebin, do you even have the slightest idea what's going on here?
I love this bit. Is this fan service? Yes, but it's working better for me than anything else that's been in this game so far. Like on a story level, as far as the characters are concerned, the best parts of the game to me probably are the unabashed fan service.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to make this a meditation on mortality and the passage of time and how things rot, I think they could have probably just leaned harder into stuff like returning to old spots, you know, just sort of re-experiencing things with a different perspective. Feed me the red meat, you know, and go lighter on the trendy shaky cam Warzone stuff, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. It succeeds both in pure gameplay, fan service, while also communicating the actual ideas that they were trying to communicate. And it's so baffling that we were so recently in a chapter as bad as Act 2.
Cry until your eyes run red.
Crying Wolf this is sort of the middle of the Shadow Moses thing, and it's the exact same place where we fought Sniper Wolf the second time. Also, there's a great flashback in that sort of, what would you call it? Like the place where Meryl got shot. in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh, just, that like corridor in front of the comms tower.
Yeah, the sort of like open air corridor. I love that. I love going back to that, and it's completely snowed over. Like everything is just in total disrepair. And I love going back there, and it just seems so much smaller by virtue of the snow, like piling up in the middle of it, because it was this giant imposing thing in 1, and it is one of the most important scenes in 1 because it's the moment Snake decides he wants to be more than just a hired killer.
Yeah.
And he like becomes a real person. Honestly, the fight is just like full Sniper Wolf tribute. The dogs from Shadow Moses have grown up, and they actually like you when they see you. The fight with Crying Wolf is I actually really like boss fights that involve mobs when it's kind of measured, and I feel like you get a fair shot here. You can trank all of them, and if you have the Mosin Nagant, even just the M14, which is you could just pick up for free and pay Drebin like 700
Drebin bucks
to unlock. You can piece her pretty quick before they wake up, but I don't consider them a super difficult obstacle, even on the harder difficulties. If you kill all of them, though, she will call for reinforcements. So it is usually just more of advantageous to just like trank as many as are near to you. I really like this. I really, really like this fight because you have to wait for her to open up her wolf suit. Great sniper fight, though.
Yeah.
You also, unlike in the sniper wolf fight, she will try to pursue you in like beast mode, and she can really fuck you up. So you have to kind of hide your trail, hide your tracks, and because you're contesting against geckos, you can't just like keep your solid eye on night vision all the time. You have to at least take care of the geckos before you, the frogs, before you go creeping around for her. And if you take her out non-lethally, well, you can get this flashback no matter what. You get the Snake. What am I fighting for? What was she fighting for? What are you fighting for? And Snake going, if we get through this, I'll tell you, which I think is, again, they hit the theme so well here. Because this level reinforces that all these victories, if you could call them that, in the previous two Solid Snake games, were so hollow. They got you here. This coda from Gray Fox that you've been carrying around, it's not enough. It doesn't answer enough of the questions that you have. I mean, this can partly be owed to a bad script, but yeah, what are you fighting for right now?
Driven.
But anyway, this is a real high point for the game, just all of this.
Yeah, the Shadow Moses stuff is great. It's a shame we have to then go meet up with Vamp and Naomi.
Yeah, okay. By the way, the one where you have to traverse the conveyor belt and the room is filled with dwarf geckos and has
I had a blast with that.
That's a fucking great level. Again, it's like you this is what the game is supposed to have. Why isn't there stuff like that? Like whatever. Okay, so we make it to the hangar after the game justifying its existence for this entire level. And this is all incredibly weird. Naomi is like dripping off of Vamp. It's heavily implied that they're sleeping together, which like,
oh yeah.
Why did they have that scene, that fucking Love Actually scene with Otacon that had like in the game's timeline happened like 12 hours ago?
She's playing everybody, Felix. We don't know. The complicated Naomi Hunter, master nanomachine scientist.
God fucking
I mean, look, this is a good, because she's about to thankfully leave the scene. So now she's apparently Vamp's lover, and she wants to help Liquid. Why Vamp wants to help Liquid, I have no fucking idea. But we are now, she's like, I'll leave you to it. And we have to square off against Vamp.
What was Vamp's like interview with Liquid Ocelot like? Was he like, okay, I'll join your organization, but you can't like kill my girlfriend who has a tragic backstory? I haven't met her yet, but I'm going to find another one of those. And Liquid Ocelot's like, sure.
Well, I mean, Liquid could say, you know, that was old management. I was, we never even met. So don't let the mustache and the ponytail fool you. That is not my style.
And Vamp is stupid enough for that to work.
Yeah, we have to fight Vamp. It's a fine fight. You just shoot him a lot, and then when his health is low, you stick him with the syringe, and you get rid of his, guess what? Nanomachines. That's what was making him a vampire guy.
Snake, sorry to have kept you all waiting. You ready for this?
You think, okay, Vamp's done, but then guess what? Vamp says there's a bunch of suicide gecko coming, which are gecko, but they explode, and they bust in the room. Otacon's not done hacking the Rex, although we already know the railgun is missing, so I guess Rex is our way to get out or something. I don't know. We have to get into the Rex. Do you remember why?
No.
Yeah, let's just that's fine. Just to get out. We're trying to get into the Rex so we can get out of here. And then Raiden shows up and starts to do battle with Vamp on the top of the Rex, much like you and Liquid did a long time ago. If you try to shoot, if you aim to shoot them or to shoot Vamp on the top, Snake says what he did with Gray Fox, and he says, I can't do it because he doesn't want to hit Raiden. But mostly you should be focusing on all the geckos that are showing up, and you're using not the railgun off of Rex, the other railgun that was used by Crying Wolf that you snagged from her after that boss fight. Please don't confuse the two railguns, everybody at home. And it's an okay section.
Again, Crying Wolf, not just the best boss fight, gives you the best boss weapon. The railgun you get from her is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You charge it, it can one-shot a gecko. And I actually, like, gameplay-wise, I really enjoy this segment. And I actually kind of like the Vamp fight a fair bit. There's a split screen of Raiden fighting Vamp on top of Rex during this. And people may remember this is another idea that Kojima wanted to do in previous games. There's a lot of split screening in this game. And I get the sense that these were all things they had to let him do for this game to exist.
Yeah.
But I really like that segment for as stupid as Vamp is, because you could play it like 4 times and you won't see the entire fight.
I'm done crying. I don't have any more tears to shed. We have to get out of here.
Any ideas?
Time's running short, so I'll explain as we go.
You have to get into the Rex now, and I actually really enjoyed the stuff we do in the Rex. Despite how, like, stupid the concept is of just, now you have to pilot the Rex.
I mean, I'll take it. If this game is going to be the big dumb finale, then do it.
Yeah.
I like the Rex busting out, but then I really like the Rex versus Ray fight.
That was awesome.
We get out of Shadow Moses. We think, okay, how are we going to get home? Liquid bursts out of the water, piloting a Ray, which technically is the more deadly Metal Gear, at least if you're a Rex.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Metal Gear from MGS1 versus the Metal Gear from MGS2. It feels just clunky enough that it's kind of satisfying, where you're using these unwieldy, giant, gangly robot dinosaurs to smack each other around and shoot at each other.
You know how we've said in previous episodes where, you know, whenever a plot element, we can't really make sense of it, but we go, it's fine. I have not felt any of that goodwill until this point in the game.
Yeah.
The Ray fight, it's sort of reminiscent of a more arcadey version of the first, like, 4 Armored Core games. It's a style of mech game that doesn't really exist anymore. The more, like, clunky mech. What I love about it is it feels like both the Rex in you controlling it and the Ray as you're contesting with it, they both have like a real weight to them that feels really good. I had a lot of fun, replaying it and playing it with sort of different ways. I ended up using the laser a lot in my most recent playthrough, and it really just like chunks him. But yeah, this is really awesome scene. The choreography is great. It ends with another sort of iconic Liquid Ocelot thing. Him like running away and laughing like a child.
I was just about to say, and here's the thing. We don't need to go into it, but to me, in that moment, that's Ocelot to me.
Yes.
not Liquid. I love that shot. I was waiting for it the whole chapter where he turns around and he's kind of dancing around. He points at you and then like throws his arms up. He jumps onto an Arsenal gear, which is just this like massive naval monstrosity. We remember it from the first game, but you can get a better look now. That has the Mount Rushmore of snakes on the side of its hull. Now, I'm on record now. I'm fine with this.
I completely agree. And this is what I mean when I say this is one of the tonally weirdest games I've ever played. The thing that really sucks about a lot of the stuff preceding this, and a few things coming after, is another marker of late 2000s games. Another thing the Call of Duty games brought to gaming was this incredible self-seriousness that games, especially at the time, were ill-equipped to handle.
Yeah.
And the Metal Gear Solid series talks about a lot of very serious topics. There's no shortage of legitimately like heart-wrenching scenes all throughout the series, all throughout these games. Scenes and lines and characters that really make me think about things and really make me feel a lot of things. I don't think this series would be nearly as beloved as it is if it didn't have so much emotional resonance.
Mm-hmm.
But all the attempts at that before this chapter, they just fall so flat. Not because the series is incapable of being serious, but because it is sort of carrying itself with this absurd, like, okay, these games are adult now.
Yeah. It feels obligatory.
Yes. And like to have a character like Ocelot, who he is more than like dancing silly, like this is fun, even when he's being like a fucking bastard all throughout 2, to have him say we're freaks that shouldn't exist. It's like, what the fuck is that? Like, fuck you. Are we gonna have him like date Naomi next? And he goes, run away from me. I'm bad news. Like, that's not his character.
Oh, by the way, Naomi died, by the way. We forgot to say that.
Oh, right.
We're having the most fun we've had in the entire game, smashing our action figures together with Ray and Rex. And like literally 5 minutes before, Naomi revealed she had cancer, took a medicine that stopped curing her cancer, and then died cradling Ocelot's little robot iPad.
Yeah, and we get another, like, more Hal crying and...
Seen it.
Yeah, they do that so he can go, I'm all out of tears later. But again, there is an eeriness of having this scene of like someone on their deathbed
talking to a computer,
doing this like through a Zoom call. There's sort of an eeriness in seeing someone do that in a game in 2008, but
yeah.
it's offset by the fact that like, okay, so she had Hal kill Vamp by giving him like the super stop your nanomachines shot after Raiden kicked his ass, which I don't know how that one's different from the one we hit him with, but what the fuck ever. We're finally rid of Vamp. But then like with Vamp, that makes sense because he's his stupid character. But with Naomi, you have these amazing nanomachines that effectively cure your cancer. And you're like, oh, I should die too. It's like, why? Why now? Like, what? Did you just like see a guy die and you're like, oh, that looks fun? Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And there's nothing she does make sense.
I agree. But we forgot to say that as before. So Naomi's toast. And we escape from Shadow Moses. We kick Liquid's ass as a Rex, but then he jumps on his Arsenal gear. See, this is the shit. I'm like, this is fun to talk about. And he jumps on an Arsenal gear and he's doing a little jig, but then he's going to run us over in the cutscene. He gets the better of us. And it's only because Raiden steps in. Raiden also got crushed under some rubble, but he's free now because he cut his own arm off. And he stops the giant vehicle from rolling over us.
He even says, it's my turn to save you now.
Exactly. And that's nice. And it looks like it might be curtains for Raiden, but as he's talking, it's just a black screen. But if you hit X, you see little moments of him and Rose.
Did we explain that Campbell is with Rose, by the way?
Oh, we didn't say that. Yeah. So we've been told at this point that Campbell got with Rose after Raiden succumbed to horrible flashbacks and PTSD and stopped coming home. And when he did come home, he was drunk. And so Rose, this is what we are told, left Raiden after having a miscarriage, which she informed him, and then shacked up with Colonel Campbell. And Colonel Campbell says a lot of creepy things, like when Snake's like, she's young enough to be your daughter. And he says, yeah, I know. It's pretty fucking awesome, isn't it? And you're just like...
He was enjoying that a little too much.
My girlfriend's 33. I'm 47. She's 14 years younger than me. Back of the net.
It's just like, because look, we later learned there's more to it, but
yeah,
he's really put some mustard on that one. And so ends the fourth chapter, which was what, Twin Sons? I think it was called.
Yeah.
Haven is going to use a railgun mounted on the bridge to destroy JD. You'll need to open the cover to launch the nuke. That's our one and only chance to get inside.
And the next scene, this is my favorite briefing scene. So everyone is together now. We heard Otacon allude to Mei Ling earlier in the game. He said that her career was almost ruined by the entire philanthropy and Shadow Moses thing, but a really horny admiral put her in charge of like this weird training ship that now functions as like a museum.
Yeah.
So Mei Ling's there. Rat Patrol, life partners Snake and Otacon, the ghost of Naomi, who's like leaning off of the ghost of Vamp because that's still part of her plan. Their plan, it's a plan to assault and infiltrate Outer Haven. By the way, I the Mount Rushmore thing,
yeah,
that is so much like making him like Smithers to Big Boss's Mr. Burns is so awesome.
Yeah, like the screensaver.
Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
You're so good at turning me on, Adam. Yeah, the plan is to catapult everyone there. And I love, one of the things I love about this briefing scene, Snake is just, he is so fucked up.
Yeah.
This is peak like Nordberg for him. Faces burned.
He's on oxygen.
He's on fucking oxygen. And there's a great part of this scene where they talk about how there's a microwave hall leading up to like the place where they put all the GW computers. And Snake's like, maybe I should go in there since I'm a dying old piece of shit.
Yep.
And Meryl's like, fuck you, you old dying piece of shit. Everyone is so mad at him in the scene because he's like, might as well die during this suicide mission. And everyone's like, fuck you. And we see a little Johnny Meryl interplay. Johnny actually had a hero moment when Liquid was fucking with the SOP on the Volga River. He saved Meryl. He jumped into the river to save Meryl, which was a nice moment for him because we've only seen him like poop his pants and like annoy everyone. But this leads into the, I would say the best stealth segment of the game.
Yeah, it's intense.
You are on the deck of Arsenal Gear of Outer Haven, and it is crawling with frogs. From the moment you spawn in, there are like 6 coming into your direction.
Yep.
It's kind of tragic because this is what the game could have been. You don't have like something like the Soliton radar to fully lean on. You do have a radar with the solid eye, but the frogs, the Haven troopers can hear it, and B, it's not as detailed as the Soliton. But there's some really tight timings. You really take advantage of how strong train guns are in this game.
Yeah.
In this segment. And then right when you get to the end, last time I played it was 4 geckos that are patrolling. It's not just like approaching your door. You have to like jam the action button, like with the doors on the plant on the tanker chapter in MGS2, and it's super tense.
Yeah.
And every time when you make it in with no alerts, it feels so great, and you really wonder why wasn't there more like conventional stealth when the mechanics were so strong like in this game. This leads to the final guard rush of the game, though. she's kind of in this state. She's sort of like in a trance, but she collapses, and you're in like sort of it looks like a conference hall, kind of. It's like, was this the part of Arsenal that they were meant to do TED Talks in?
Well, later on, we do see Liquid wears like an office name tag.
Oh, yeah. He is the type of guy who would like make all the frogs attend his speech he's giving about evil.
This will be the arena where you fight the final B&B, but at first it's a guard rush of frogs.
Yeah. And it's fine. It's a little it's a little tense, but by this time you've contested with a bunch of frogs. What I really recommend for people who are trying to do like non-lethal runs and getting through guard rushes is the shotgun that shoots rubber rings or whatever the fuck they are. That really fucking chunks enemies and bosses. And it's really good for this fight too.
You psycho mantis.
That was another me. Can you hear the screams? They cry for battle. Let me hear you scream! Howl! Roar! From the very depths of your soul!
Anyhow, you are now confronted by the final Beauty and the Beast soldier, operator, patient.
Yeah.
Whatever they are.
Yeah.
She starts out the fight by doing all the Psycho Mantis shit.
You look up and you see, because you can go to first person, and much like that little Easter egg in the Middle East, you see him puppeteering her, and Snake goes, Psycho Mantis. And she says, that's not me. That's another version of me or something. That's the old me, which is... It's sort of confusing because we're going to get yet another explanation of what's going on about this whole gimmick. But I mean, it's cool to see Psycho Mantis. It's highly suggested that he has been pulling the strings, so to speak, this entire time somehow. I mean, he's a very powerful psychic. I guess he just lives.
It's outright stated later.
Later on it is, yeah.
Yeah. Drebin, by the way, is involved in this mission. We forgot to say.
Oh, yeah, because he's on the Missouri, and he's like, I'm here too.
Yeah, he says, this is a great opportunity to sell guns. And it's like, can you kill yourself?
Oh, so your thing is selling guns, huh? Wow. I wish you had told me more about that throughout this game. Yeah, so you, it's an okay fight. It's not as good as Laughing Octopus.
No, yeah.
It's multi-stage because at first, much like Psycho Mantis, Screaming Mantis puppeteers Meryl. But what you can notice is that Screaming Mantis, whose design I like, by the way.
Yeah.
She has on either side of her marionettes. There's one that looks an awful lot like Psycho Mantis himself, and there's one that looks like the Sorrow, if we remember the psychic from the third game. You basically, once you've tranked Meryl out of being puppeteered, you just want to shoot that Psycho Mantis doll out of her grasp. You can shoot the Sorrow doll out, but you'll just be able to control corpses. What you want is the Psycho Mantis doll so that you can actually grab Screaming Mantis herself, the boss, and then you just waggle the controller around and she dies. Well, she doesn't die. It's non-lethal technically, but you best her.
Would also like to point out that if you use the syringe, by the way, the syringe that you stab Vamp with, Naomi gave that to you earlier on, and you can use that when your stress is really high because it suppresses the nanomachines.
Yeah.
But in this fight, you can just grab Meryl and jab her with that syringe.
You also need to use it on yourself, I believe, at first. Because
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
She'll control your nanomachines if you don't prevent that.
So after you beat her, she like kind of rises. Well, that's when Psycho Mantis makes you put the controller on the floor.
She does her usual B&B like come to daddy thing. And then the pieces of her suit come back together in the air floating. And Snake goes, And then it's Psycho Mantis appears and he says, I'm back.
Very well. I will show you the power of the world's greatest mind reader and psychokinesis. I'll start by reading your personality. Rather, your past. That's right. This is no trick. It's true.
but then there's no memory card, so he's bummed out. And then he says, "Put your control on the floor. If you have dual shock, it'll work." I was playing with a PS5 controller, so it didn't qualify.
Oh, it worked with mine, but I was on emulation.
Oh yeah. See, I think the PS3 just wasn't having it.
Yeah, with mine, he when he moved my controller, he went, "Vibration is back."
Okay,
which I loved.
Look, here's the reveal. Psycho Mantis, as we'll be told by Drebin in a second, found his way into Screaming Mantis somehow because they conditioned her to think like him.
Yeah.
They say they supplanted. I don't really give a shit. Point being, he's there. And he's actually been the one throwing all these B&Bs at you, which would maybe make a little bit more sense of why they hate you so fucking much, is because it's actually the will of Psycho Mantis. Honestly, is this needless callback and fan service? Yes, but as we were just saying, I like seeing him, and it's a neat little part of the game.
Yeah.
Once he has done his tricks, he is suddenly vanquished by perhaps an even greater psychic, the Sorrow.
The spirit of the warrior will always be with you.
And there's even a little flash of Kojima as Psycho Mantis is sent into the great beyond again. Now, Felix, what I love about this is this whole game, as we're about to find out in its waning moments, retconned the idea of how Ocelot became the personality of Liquid for a period of time. It wasn't magic. It wasn't the Sorrow being his father. They got rid of any kind of what Ocelot himself called mumbo jumbo in the second game. And they have it be nanomachines and stuff like that. And hypnotherapy.
Self-hypnosis, yeah.
Yet in the final moments of this game, they straight up just have a spirit hanging over a character controlling them, which is almost exactly what the premise was from the fucking start of the Liquid Ocelot saga.
I love Psycho Mantis being there, and I love seeing the Sorrow because for whatever reason, they never try to explain psychic stuff, like true psychic stuff.
Yeah.
They never even go, oh, there's a parasite that can hear people's thoughts. No, It's just some people are just psychic. And I always appreciate that. I am a huge supporter of like not everything needs to be explained.
Yeah.
People know what a psychic is. Some people are just psychic. Whatever.
Sure.
It's like that popular shirt from the same era. People are gay, get over it. People are psychic, get over it.
Later, they ripped out what was left of her psyche with drugs and hypnosis and implanted the persona of Psycho Mantis. It wasn't her will that controlled the B&Bs. It was Psycho Mantis, half assimilated into her soul, pulling the strings. Screaming Mantis was just another puppet. Anyway.
So Snake needs to go turn off GW and therefore free the world from the threat of Liquid's control, even though it was already under control by the also very evil Patriots. And will now be under whose control? I don't know. They make a big thing later about how the Patriots were trying to help us stop Liquid behind the scenes. But if all it meant was we were going to turn off GW, I don't really know why they would want that either. I guess maybe we'll get to Naomi's little video in a second. Maybe she explains it. I don't.
No, not really. No. I mean, like, it's, you know what this script is? It's the danger of putting a pin in something. Because I bet there were so many things where they're like, okay, well, the central motivation here doesn't really make sense. We'll put a pin in it.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it.
It's one big pin. Meryl and Johnny have this, people have compared it to this before, a Mr. and Mrs. Smith moment, talking to each other about wanting to get married while they're kicking ass and shooting people.
Is Mr. and Mrs. Smith is that like a really important movie to stupid people? Because I've never thought about that movie after like 2003. I could see stupid people being really into it though. So
I just remember in every commercial, I mean, Kojima would definitely do this, like see a cool scene in a commercial for a movie and say, I'm going to use that in my game. It'll be a little wink to.
Oh yeah, and he really loves some bullshit movies too. Like he has good taste in a lot of things, but sometimes he watches some Mind of Jason-esque movies.
He really does.
He will be like, I'm here with the man who wrote my favorite movie of last year, The Gray Man. You'll be like, what? Really? Okay. It's charming to me. You know,
it is.
I'm not like, we really don't want to be like those video essays that are like, this thing that seems stupid is actually a genius allusion to something that Edmund Burke wrote.
Right.
No, the thing we like about him is that he's the type of, like, he's capable of these amazing works, but he's also the type of person who's like, oh man, I wish someone would come out with a sequel for me, myself, and Irene.
I hope the finale to my Metal Gear saga is as good as Ocean's 12.
Yeah. He is. And Kojima has seen every movie that Olivia Wilde starred in between like 2016 and 2022.
Yes. So maybe that's what's going on with the Johnny and Meryl stuff. But then it gets heavy again because we're about to walk into the microwave as Snake. There's tons of frogs. We're about to enter the microwave zone, but we get a nanomachine attack or a not nanomachine attack. I don't even remember which one it is, like whether we're suppressing them or using them. But our syringe isn't working anymore. And we think this might be it for our hero because the frogs are swarming us. But then Raiden shows up with no arms and his sword in between his teeth and just gets to work.
Even though he's armless and like fucked up, and he's talking to Snake about how he wants to, you know, I don't care if I die in this mission, I have nothing. One of his iconic lines from this game, while he's Shadow Raiden.
Yeah.
He goes, "It was never going to work out for me. It even rained on the day I was born." And Snake goes, "You were the lightning in that rain." It's like, if these were any other characters in any other thing, I'd be like, that's so fucking stupid. But with this, I think about this when I work out. I'm like, that's so fucking cool. And when Raiden shows up in his trench coat,
yep,
and he goes, "I am the lightning, the rain transformed," and then it's never explained, but he just shoots electricity at them.
Yep,
awesome.
It's like a fortune thing, you know, where it's just the universe smiles upon him. But yeah, I mean, it's what we were saying before, where Ocelot or Liquid or whomever are talking about how, you know, the shadows need the light, and with it like that does not work. But Raiden at this point now is that kind of steampunk emo guy, and for him to talk like that sounds right. He's grim and serious, but in a way that contrasts with Snake, who's self-deprecating and cranky. So it's kind of a nice interplay rather than everyone being depressed and brooding.
Yeah, he's grim and serious, but he doesn't have a cynical bone in his body. And Snake is like a classic Gen X cynic.
So Raiden clears the way for us, and then you hold up and smash triangle, crawling through this microwave.
Want to point out the microwave segment is another split screen.
It's the finale, really. It's the climax in a lot of ways.
I would say the split screen works really well here because you see scenes of Johnny and Meryl fighting against the frog onslaught. You see Raiden like kicking the shit out of the frogs. You even see Mei Ling and her troops fighting from their museum ship.
You see Sunny cooking eggs and she's having a ball. It's bringing it all home, you know.
Yeah. You see Otacon doing the classic thing of I'm in the blue part of the computer. But Snake is just, I misspoke when I said peak Nordberg was at the end of chapter 4. No, they literally air fry him.
Yep. You can see like the sinew of his muscle suit like snapping, you know?
Oh God, yeah.
It's quite effective at portraying, you know, I don't know if any of this is, I probably don't want to know what it would look like if someone were microwaved alive, but it certainly is effective. It's not like proper gameplay, but it is giving you this final moment before everything kind of starts to release. We get into the GW haven, and there's a little visual play around the kind of like circuit boards or whatever sticking out of the ground that look like tombstones, and Snake sees the lilies from the boss's dying moment, and we crawl over. They milk it a little more with like, then there's geckos. It's like, all right, the guy's already been through enough. He can ease up.
I expected like a gecko to like slice his dick off.
Yeah, it's like, really, we got it.
Yeah, like he's been through enough.
He's been through enough. And honestly, like, you're ready for it to be done. And then Naomi, when you put the flash drive in or whatever, when Otacon does that, Naomi has a video she's prepared where she tries to explain why the fuck she's done all these different things she's done. But I'm not really convinced. Luckily, I don't care either. It's like I had to deceive you because that presumably gave her access to liquid, which she needed in some way. I guess to the stats on Arsenal gear she gave to us, she only could have gotten that if she, I don't know, had double crossed.
Why did she have to fuck Van? Like, like was that part of it?
That part's never explained. But, you know, Vamp is supposed to be a Casanova, I guess. What with his rotting flesh, and it's supposed to be a big moment for Naomi, and I feel very little about it. Because this game, she's great in the first one, but this is not a game where you feel a whole new thing about Naomi or whatever.
Yeah, but the basic thing is that she worked with Sonny to make something called Fox Alive, which kills off like the bad parts of the Patriots and keeps the good parts.
This is not my cup of tea either.
Yeah.
I think they really missed a trick here, having it be a more ambiguous result. Having it immediately told to you that, like, we literally, I mean, people will hear the cutscene. You're not even kidding. Otacon says she stopped it from doing all the bad stuff and kept on water and electricity and Netflix.
He says healthcare.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Was he even doing that?
Not in our reality. Maybe the Patriots were a better deal than everyone was giving them credit for.
Water, air, electricity, food, medicine, communication, transportation. She cut off the Patriots' control while preserving modern civilization.
Like, I like what they do in Rising so much better, where it's way more ambiguous, but there are like individual actors and governments that are like fighting for good, and that is just such a more elegant.
See, Felix, for me, I agree with you on the war economy thing. I think that I know these things were not coordinated. Rising came years after. It would have been better for me if, like I suggested at the top, the Patriots have sort of solved war, but we're left with the cost of their absurd panopticon. Liquid threatens the return of war, even if it frees people back up. And that we save the war economy for what starts to take root after the events of this game. Because in Metal Gear Rising, essentially it's still a war economy. There's PMCs and being used and at the disposal of different politicians. And in this one, it just feels like, really?
Yeah.
A 6-year-old wrote code that left all the lights on but got rid of the bad stuff. Like, and Otacon goes, I still wonder if we did the right thing. I'm like, what are you wondering about? You just said everything good has been preserved and everything bad has been eliminated.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it the right thing to initiate the Stop Killing Orphans program? Well, history will judge us.
You know what I mean? Like, they could have left it. It's very odd. It's very odd, and I don't know why they felt obligated to throw that in, because otherwise you could just feel similar. You could be like, geez, I don't know what's going to happen now. The Patriots sorted out a lot of stuff, even if some of it was evil. But they throw that in to, I guess, reassure you that Snake didn't do all this for nothing. I don't know.
The Patriots' reign has crumbled away. And still, our civilization, a civilization that has thrived on war since the dawn of time, lives on. I wonder if we did the right thing.
Damn it, Otacon! Get a grip!
Yeah, I mean, like, it has to be a not hollow victory. After all, the hollow victories of all the other games, right? But sure. I like your idea of if the Patriots instead solved war, because it puts Solid Snake in this awkward position of basically echoing Big Boss's goals from the first two games.
Sure. I mean, even begrudgingly, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
or
that would have been interesting.
Or do it so like the war economy, their version of solving war is kind of like our real life version of it, where war is localized to the periphery, but people in the Imperial core.
But that's not what this is about, saving the world. What's about is getting back to what we've identified as the key through line of this series, which is men taking off each other's clothes.
Yeah.
Otacon pulls you out of the fryer and he's like, hold on, I'll be right back. And then just in the same...
Otacon says, let's get you a doctor. 1 second later.
Ocelot walks up and goes, I got your doctor right here. And he, I guess, kidnaps you and brings you to the top of Arsenal Gear. I gotta love it. Now, again, this, I'm all for it.
Oh my God. I just realized that's why they did the plan this way. So the microwave would remove Snake's clothes.
Yes. It had to be this complicated.
Yeah, Ava was like, are you sure? Like, we both have to die? Like, there has to be a bet. This is so stupid. Naomi was like, why do I have to like fuck this Romanian guy? Like, are you sure?
Why do I have to die from cancer when I have a really handy anti-cancer medicine?
He's like, because the Patriots will like know otherwise. No, it's just we got to put him in that hallway that melts off all his clothes.
Liquid Ocelot brings us to the top of the Arsenal Gear where, okay, why did Liquid not mind? Because there's this like, oh, guess what? I actually like that you did all this. Because Snake goes, you're happy that we stopped all this? And he goes, of course I am. And it's like, okay, if Ocelot were saying this, that would make sense. Liquid, he now has a third agenda and it's the same thing as Ocelot? Like, so what was even the purpose of this double identity? Who cares? They have to strip down, oil up, and get fighting. And I like this bit. And
this is awesome.
What I really appreciate is it is subtle, but essentially what's happening is that both through the syringes and through getting the shit beat out of them, you are beating the Liquid out of Ocelot. Because every stage of the fight, it goes from being the MGS1 health bars of Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. And then the middle section is MGS2. It says Liquid Ocelot. And then the third one just says Ocelot. And that's when you start seeing him do his recognizable, you're pretty good gestures.
Yeah, and you get the MGS3 UI.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, for all of them. Yeah. And the music, obviously, that goes around. So this is really fun. It's not even just like pure button mashing that you can sleepwalk through. You can lose these fights.
Oh yeah, it can be really difficult on harder difficulties.
Yeah.
It's just like how I liked how they did like boutique controls for the rec section. I mean, I guess what other kind of controls did they do for piloting a robot? But they really like made fighting game controls for this.
Yeah.
It's a really fun segment. It makes me wish that it was like Peace Walker or something where I could just go back and play it, because it is very fun, and it's this game at its best where you just go, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Whatever it takes to get them naked. Let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then we land one final blow. Hopefully you got a kiss from Ocelot along the way.
Oh yeah, I got it my first try.
Nice. But at the end of all things here, we beat down Ocelot that one last time. He doesn't get up. And at this point, he still says father, which is like, okay, you're supposed to be Ocelot now, but whatever. But then he says, I'm Liquid's doppelganger. You're Big Boss's doppelganger. We got to have our bad romance. And
You're pretty good.
You're pretty good. Pretty good.
And then Ocelot gets Fox die. Half a century of Smithersness dies with him.
The most important male attraction ever in history.
Yes.
Changed the world multiple times. Big Boss never even acknowledges it.
Yep.
Did anyone ever go, hey, that weird triple agent guy is like in love with you? And Big Boss, who like by the time of Peace Walker just is like, yeah, I'm the shit. Of course he is. Everyone is.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that Ocelot, as dumb as the big plan is, all the plans in these games are silly. And he did his long game. He played the long game.
And he gives you the highest praise he can give anyone. Your Big Boss's doppelganger.
Yeah. And it's a strange thing because Liquid has been the supposed villain this whole game, and then we learn that's actually bullshit. It wasn't Liquid. You start that fight with this latent energy to finally solve the Liquid problem, and then by the end of the fight, you're like, oh, the Liquid's fucking dead. Has been.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. I don't mind it. It's just very strange because the whole game is talking about Liquid all the time. This leads to the supposed final sequence or set of sequences. Meryl is getting married to Johnny
in like a parking lot
in some weird airstrip. The Nomad is parked. Colonel Campbell, remember him? He showed up and said, please give me another chance. Meryl does. This is okay. It's just that, again, like we've had no time to like care about this or think about it in the game because the game is trying to do 800 things for all these different characters. He walks her down the aisle, and then do we go to Jack or Snake? Do we go to Raiden or Snake next?
We go to Raiden next, and Raiden is in a hospital bed, looking pretty normal.
It's amazing what you can do with modern medicine, sewing entire arms and legs back on.
Yeah, why was Naomi's cancer a problem? I mean, I'm glad she's gone, but he's in his bed, and Rose comes in with their adorable son,
with Vito Jr.
Yeah, he really does look Vito Jr.
That's all I can think about.
This scene is kind of funny to me because, like, the idea of like of someone being like, okay, can you be a father to your son? And you're just like, no, I'm a dark samurai. Like, she's just like, this is your kid.
Well, in fairness,
obviously there's more going on than that, but like, just at its core, that idea is so funny to me.
Well, talk about funny. Talk about a laugh riot. Folks, the whole story that we and Raiden have been operating off of, which is that, again, he descended into a kind of bloodthirst and madness following his exposure to Solidus. It prevented him from having a happy relationship with Rose, and that she had a miscarriage and then left him for Colonel Campbell.
The only other man she knew. That is so biblical. Like, who's the other man on this codec call? Oh, Stillman's dead? Okay.
She knew the computer version of him too. She didn't even, I don't even know if she knew him. Close enough. And guess what? It was actually an incredibly elaborate and I'm going to argue downright unnecessary plan to throw the Patriots off the trail of Jack's son, who we are now meeting. Because I guess if you do all that, the Patriots don't track your every move the way that we've been hearing they do all the time.
The Patriots, again, they seem really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They seem like Google AI. Like, this sounds like it was Campbell's idea. We should do it once though, to like fool them. I have an Alexa in my house and it should hear as fuck.
And by the way, throughout the game, when Codec calls or briefings with him, she's like serving him meals and stuff. He's happy to play along with this really elaborately in that regard.
How far did the ruse go? Like, did he go to like hang around Arsenal gear? And he was like, boy, I love young pussy. Like really loudly.
I think Raiden is going to be asking, how long did that ruse go for the rest of his days? With uncomfortable silences.
Was part of the ruse the Colonel's Netflix being on our TV still? Why are we still logged into his fucking account, Rose?
So, yeah, that's the big reveal, is that in order to protect the kid, right? Isn't that why they say this all happened?
Yeah, and I guess there's precedent for like the Patriots kidnapping kids. Yeah.
But point being, Raiden, I think rather open-mindedly, within the span of one conversation says, Oh, okay. I can see why you did that. And yeah, I'll be your father now, little guy. We'll have to do something about the haircut and the weird sailor's outfit you're in, and we'll be a family. So that's nice. That's Raiden kind of getting a beginning, middle, and end in this story. And then we cut to what we think is the very final scene, which is, well, almost, which is Solid Snake. This is what in the menu, the opening menu, I never let it play that long. But in the opening menu, you see him getting on his knees and taking the gun out and putting it in his mouth.
It's awesome to put that in the menu.
But so Snake realizes, hey, I've got this bioweapon in me that's going to explode anytime. So I better kill myself. And he goes to the grave of Big Boss for some reason.
That's the weird choice.
Should have been Gray Fox. Puts a gun in his mouth. We cut away. We think he did it. At the very end of the wedding, Hal talks to Drebin.
Why is he at the wedding? He's just some scumbag arms dealer.
He brings doves or whatever. He's been working for the Patriots the whole time. Who cares? He was also a war orphan. Come on, buddy. Who hasn't been?
Just like how the B&B units, what happened to them is no excuse. There's no excuse for Drebin being as annoying as he was. Like, no. I don't care what happened to you as a kid.
So, fine, say goodbye to Drebin. No one will ever desire to see him in Metal Gear ever again, so that's closure. But Hal and Sunny are kind of looking off at the horizon. Sunny is making a friend for the first time because she's out of her nomad interior life for the first time.
I thought this was cute.
It's nice. She asks, where's Snake? And Hal says,
he had a hard life.
I really like that line. I think Christopher Randolph gives it a very understated but nice sadness, and he says he's going to go get better. Now, of course, we think that Snake has blown his brains out, and that is where the game ends, as the two of them contemplate a snakeless but also ocelotless and patriotless future. Credits start, and they start rolling. You get the English voice cast, and then they stop at the credit of Big Boss, played by Richard Doyle, who voiced the Fury in Metal Gear Solid 3. And you're going, what? And we cut back to the cemetery, and Snake has not gone through with it. He has not killed himself. And who is there to say congratulations for not killing yourself but Big Boss himself? And this is the real ending of the game. Snake and Big Boss back together. Felix, thoughts?
So, as a huge proponent of, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I fully support the scene. I mean, just as a way to get us away from Drebin explaining what happened in the plot, and Hal talking about Naomi's plan like it makes any fucking sense.
Yep.
I really like this scene a lot.
Me too.
I love how it starts with Solid Snake's sort of instinctively squaring up with him.
Yep.
And Big Boss, who's been in a coma for like 20 fucking years, has only been kept alive by them like grafting parts of Liquid and Solidus onto him. Just effortlessly tosses him to the side.
Yeah, he CQCs his ass.
Yeah. And he's carrying a Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
We'll soon learn why. And I think like similar lore dump conversation to what we had with Ava.
Mm.
But I like this one a lot better because it's way more true to Big Boss's character than Ava's scene was to her.
Yeah.
And I alluded to this several times, this idea that Big Boss is kind of a bastard. It's not that he needlessly kills other people, but again, it's this concept that Big Boss believed in his own hype.
Mm-hmm.
Still kind of does. And we'll see this more and more in the coming 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a concept I love because it shows what Solid Snake could have been like.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't cynical or he didn't have that moment of truth with Meryl in that corridor. He gives this entire history of the Patriots, how the system ended up on the war economy. But most of all, he talks about Zero. There's a lot of stuff about Zero, and one of the lines I really, really love in this scene is when he goes, I wonder if he hates me.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he's just afraid. Because Zero is there. Zero looking like Joe Biden in a wheelchair. He's just catatonic. We'll learn
why
he actually why he was a vegetable for so long in another couple games. But I like this too because he talks about Ocelot and Ava and everyone.
Sigan,
Solidus, Sigan, Paramedic, everyone who's died as giving their life for freedom. And I like this because in his entire speech, he never seems particularly broken up about Ava or Ocelot, these two people that loved him more than anything in the fucking world. They went through so much for him. Obviously, it was about more than him, but they still really did like go through hell for him. And he's just like, good job.
Well, you're right that he comes off as someone who is evil. The strange like thing in the Solid series is you never see what he does in Outer Heaven and Zanzibar Land, but there's very evil things he does. There's a reason Solid Snake hates him so much if you play those MSX games. But I think also not only his own hype, but he really, his heart belongs to another.
Yes.
Ocelot, thanks very much. Eva, one heck of a gal. But he has only one true person whom he cares about and thinks about and obsesses about and almost blew up the world several times about, which was the boss, of course. And that is why he's here. Apart from finding Snake, he wants to visit her grave. He explains the Ocelot grand plan of hypnotherapy and nanomachines. And he explains, the switcheroo with his body. He knew Naomi, so he was in on all of that at some point as well. I don't know when he reanimated. I guess it was as soon as JD was, or as soon as the AIs were destroyed.
Think how dry his mouth must have been.
Then I can take or leave all of that, but then the really nice bit I like is he salutes the boss's grave. You saw that coming. He's starting to talk to Snake, not as a plot machine, but as a father figure. And I do quite love the last minute or two of this scene where the fox die that Solid Snake has, he reveals, has cured Solid Snake of the bioweapon stuff. So the hat on the other hat solved some problems. But it also was designed to kill Ocelot and Eva and now Big Boss, which Big Boss knew full well walking into this cemetery. And he's now dying and he's very weak and he's on the boss's grave.
Boss, you only need one snake. No. The world would be better off without snakes.
Lights a cigar for the road. He's almost on death's door and he drops it. Solid Snake finally buries the hatchet and lights it for him and gives him a last moment. And I really love the last line, which is, "This is good, isn't it?"
I love the thing that Big Boss said about how the fox die in fact killed Ava and Ocelot, where he's sort of cursing it and he goes, they just do the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Message received, Mr. Kojima.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a final moment between father and son. And maybe I have more daddy issues than I have mommy issues. And that's why I feel a little bit more of a lump in my throat with this scene than I do with the boss's scene. I think it does a good job of capturing what is moving about a flawed father figure returning to his son, although it's far too late, and trying to convey that he does care for him, or at least respect him. And that scene where they square off, I really love how Big Boss CQCs Snake, but he CQCs him into a hug.
Let it go. My son, I'm not here to fight. Or should I call you brother? What? It's over. Time for you to put aside the gun and live.
And I like that in the Solid series, for once, you get to see Big Boss in his MSX era getup, after he left the battlefield.
The cool trench coat.
Yeah, the trench coat with the gloves.
He looks awesome.
This is where we get to see him as the kind of supervillain getup. And I just like that we finally get to see that in full 3D. But he passes away and the cigar drops out of his hand. We get a song that they will use again in a different arrangement. Here's to You. It was a Joan Baez song, I think.
Yes, Joan Baez.
And but this is an Ennio Morricone arrangement of it, which is really pretty. And I gotta say, I was on board with the ending to be Solid Snake killing himself. But to be totally honest, I don't know if I needed Snake's problem to be that he's going to be a bioweapon and needs to top himself. I think it was more about decay and a slow march toward death. That's enough for me. So the fact that that was a fake out is kind of unnecessary, but it means that this real ending, I think is pretty satisfying.
Yeah. And I would be completely fine with a story where Ava and Ocelot have to die while pulling the wool over people's eyes, because I think conceptually that works really well. And to have one last spy game by sort of Adam and Ava would put a nice bow on it. But just again, the immediate comparison I have is to the character of Fume in Yakuza 1 or 0, where it's just his level of planning is so ridiculous. He would have to be God. If you know the expression, too many moving parts. If I was working for Ocelot's organization, I would go, "Are you sure?" But I guess it worked.
Look, they don't call it Ocelot's razor. They call it Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Ocelot's razor is make it as complicated as fucking possible, and somehow that'll make it work. Yeah, look, I mean, as we discussed in the MGS2 episode, which we can now finally, put to bed, what we were teasing there, this is all due to a stupid decision made in that game that they had to retcon, and they tried their best, and I can't say it totally worked, but I think ending it with a big hand wave like, Ocelot, he's always doing stuff like that, and Big Boss getting to have a moment with Solid Snake, I think that works for me. So yeah, and then we get an after credit sequence in which Snake and Otacon decide to still be friends. Otacon says, "I'll come hang out with you and tell your stories after you're gone," which is nice.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Snake gives up smoking, even though I think, come on, buddy, you earned it.
I think he earned it.
What, you gonna live another hour if you quit?
Well, his taste buds have been microwaved out of existence anyway, probably. So
you've been air fried, barbecued. Light one up. Yeah, there's a nice expression. He's going to, I forget if this was from the novelization or what, but he's going to spend his last days experiencing the world he helped create, which I think is a great send-off for a character that almost really could have gotten a really shitty send-off considering how many misses there are in this game.
Yep.
Overall, despite Drebin being in the ending, they still stick the landing.
Yeah. That final moment with Sonny and Otacon and then Snake and Big Boss, they went out on a high. And boy, like you said, I mean, there was so much, it was 50-50 here, and I think part of this game ending up as worth playing and worth talking about is just, so it was on that knife's edge, but they managed to do it, is that they did leave you on a high. So Solid Snake gets a worthy send-off. we didn't explicitly shout it out, but David Hayter in this really working overtime. His vocal cords were shredded from having to not only be the kind of gruff voice of Solid Snake, but also like a degenerating Snake, where he has to sound RFK like the entire game. And that is not, I mean, RFK is undergoing the same experience as Solid Snake in this game, where I don't know if it's nano machines.
He would voluntarily go into a microwave hole. He'd be like, "That's actually good for you." He goes through all the things that happened to Snake in this game just voluntarily.
That to me about does it for Metal Gear Solid 4. Obviously, a flawed game. We front loaded you the criticism, and we called balls and strikes along the way. But I don't hate the game. I could never hate the game. And as I kept going, I've recovered my fondness for it. It just really puts you to the test.
Yeah.
In certain moments. So, like I said at some point in this recording, this was them at burnout, and they still managed to land it. They managed to land the Nomad, so to speak.
It's a little sad for me experiencing this game. Even just little things like the UI, the color palette. It was just sad to see a Metal Gear game that, instead of transcending or even defining the time that it was released, being a victim of it. And obviously, as we said many times, the confluence of personal factors that go into creating games like the first 3 entries into this series are so rare, and it's so insane that it happened 3 times in a row and in such a short time span, that 1, 2, and 3, these were released over a 6-year period. And it is bound to happen, at least in a world where, people have to work for companies like Konami, unfortunately. And it is a little sad playing a Metal Gear game that is, for a large part of it, absent that sort of feeling of both player discovery and the sort of authorial voice that a lot of these games have. It's just lacking a lot of the personality that I associate with these games. But the most incredible thing is that it somehow recovers the game as a whole. The story, the characters, everything really does get better after Naomi kills herself. It really does. Like, the second that she's like, time to die of cancer, and gets buried under a bunch of rubble that no one will ever investigate.
Unfortunately, by that point, it's about 20 minutes of gameplay left.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's Metal Gear Solid 4. It's a strange beast, if you will. And with our 2 remaining episodes, we're going into somewhere pretty different. We'll bury Big Boss in this episode, only to resurrect him in the next one.